Good morning once again, everybody. And for the latecomers, no problem, because we know everybody most of us come from very far. So we have this meeting today to give a bit more information about Alfa chicks and about farming in the winter time. That's our main topic today. With this, I want to, firstly, I think my team, Alfa chicks, Bush Luri, come to meet the people. Some of the people you already know, some of them you have spoken to. Some of my team here are not here today. So I think most of you met Dirk and Phineas, our drivers. One of the drivers is not here today. Lindy, she's an admin with me. Naomi, Geraldine, and Gustav, my son. So, like I said, some of the people are not here, but that is mostly what is Alpha people, or Alpha chicks people about. And then we appreciate Alicia and Letitia, that Letitia made the food for us. Afterwards, you come and have a curry and rice. And Alicia have put this wonderful venue for us available. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, firstly, I'll give you the agenda quickly. Ross Poultry, that's one of the breeds that we sell. They are the breeders of Ross. Most of you know Ross. They are very, very long in South Africa. And Tristan, he's going to give us some more information about the Ross breed and, of course, winter farming. And then Dr. Mike Oudendal is a veterinarian from Pretoria. He's going to give us more information about what to look, how to keep the chicks healthy, and if there is any problem, what to look at. And then that's all our sponsors, Bupo. Animal Health, you'll see some of the tables around these are sponsors. They mostly sell animal health stuff like cleaning and vitamins, all that stuff. Okay, Diac is also the same. They also sponsor Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. You are here today. Suberg Agri Science, Corneille, he's here today. We thank you. Bitech, Hein. That's all the stuff that we sell from this companies. What they can get from Naomi or Geraldine. You can even get it afterwards from us. Scientia Institute, Dr. Morutse, he's from Nelspruit, doctor. There in the corner. He's going to talk about biosecurity, and he also do courses. So if you got in your community, you got a need for that, you contact him, he will come out even to Ellisras or Kiane or wherever. Is that right, doctor? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. RBT, Andy, I've got a hamper. So I think we need people to ask questions. If you don't understand, ask a question. And the one that ask the most important question intelligent question. Dr. Mike Widendahl, you will decide who's going to get the hamper, is cleaning stuff and stuff. Pretoria North, Toyota, they sponsored me that white Land Cruiser, thank you. You will see we only use Toyotas. Some of my vehicles with Pretoria North got 1.5 million kilometers, and you still see they're still going strongly. That's some of them. Okay, and Gideon, thank you for, he's going to have a conversation with some of you people for our videos that we will put on the website. And yes, Bushler are already thanked, and then everybody that came from far. So I can call Tristan. Where is Tristan? He'll talk to you further. Enjoy it, like I said afterwards. Maybe there's some little break for cold drink and stuff again. And then afterwards we'll have the curry and rice. Thank you, Tristan.
Good morning, everyone. It's a bit cold this morning. Thank you guys for coming through today. I think it's going to be a good session. My name is Tristan Jansen van Vieren. I'm from Ross Poultry Breeders and mainly over a technical advisor for the broilers. Just a special thanks to Alfa Chicks for inviting us here today. I think it's necessary sometimes. Yeah, just bear with me. If there's maybe some questions that I can't answer, you are more than welcome to have a discussion with me afterwards. I'll just give you my phone number and I'll get back to you. Okay? So first of all, I'm going to ask the audience a bit of questions. If you answer correctly, I would give you a small prize. It's not necessary for you to answer it correctly, but as close as possible, I would give that person then the prize. So first of all, first question, what is the growth factor for the Ross 308 broilers? What's the genetic potential?
Okay, the people that want to use the mic, so everybody can hear your question, just put up your hand and Gustav will bring the mic to you.
Okay, so to get back to the question, what is the growth factor for the Ross 308 broilers? Anybody can just give me an estimate. Yeah, I don't expect anyone to give me the correct answer, but it's just to see. Anyone? 0.6. Sorry? 0.6. No. Sorry, this is for the first 7 days. There you are.
I think between 4 to 5 weeks is 1.9 kg.
Close, but not there yet. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Is it in terms of weight?
That's, yeah, in terms of weight within the first 7 days.
The first 7 days?
Yes.
Oh.
So how many times can he gain his initial weight on day 7? 3 times. You are very close. Yes. Yes?
Should be around 4 times.
100%, sir. Come and collect your... It's actually 4.5 to 5 times its initial weight. So after 7 days of placement, it is usually 4.5 to 5 times its initial weight. So, next question. What should be the vent temperature of the chicks on the day of placement? I'm going to skip you this time, you already got some. 38? Anyone else? How much? 32. Okay, 38 was the closest. It is 39.4 to 40.5 on the day of placement. That's the core temperature at vent. Close. Sorry, it's going to be 5 questions, okay? I'm going to move on. Yes, sir.
Just a question, and seeing where you are taking as questions and answers.
Yes.
Do we have a pamphlet probably, or do we write this down for our own?
Yeah, so my presentation is going to include a few of these things, but you are more than welcome to write it down. It's basically just basics on the day of placement. You would see later in the presentation, I will focus mainly in the brooding time, because I believe that's the foundation of the entire cycle. Okay. So, how many broilers are slaughtered daily? Anyone? This was the same question that was asked by Johan, the previous technical advisor. In South Africa. On a daily basis, you are 2 million. Anyone else? No. You are correct. Closest average of 2.86 million birds on a daily basis. Okay. That comes down basically to an average of 20 million birds on a week. How many muscles does a chicken have? Anyone? Can I pick someone? 48, bit off. 7. Yeah. Yes?
40.
40, no. A bit higher, we can go up. 50, a bit up. Up. A lot up. 120, you are the closest. It's 175 approximately. Okay. Say, well done. And then last question. For how long can chicks not regulate their own body weight or their own body temperature? What was the answer? 3 weeks? 4 weeks? Okay, we can come down a lot.
1 week.
5 days, you are correct, sir. Until day 5, they cannot fully regulate it until they are around 12 to 14 days old, okay? But 5, yes, but mostly they can fully regulate it by day 12 to 14. So you are correct. Say, well done. Okay, sorry, I don't have any more prizes to give out. But yeah, I think it would be good for us to interact. As I've mentioned, if there's no answer from my side or I'm not sure, I would rather just come back to you a bit later. You are more than welcome to take my phone number. It will be at the last slide. Okay. So the topics for today: winter and its challenges, pre-placement, brooding, and ventilation. So winter and its challenges. What's the challenges for you guys? Most of the time during winter, what comes to mind? Yes, sir. It's cold, 100% yes. Yes, it's cold. Yes, sir.
Stumpy. Snow frost.
Yeah, depends of management. Yes.
Due to the called stumping.
Sorry?
Stumping.
Stumping. Okay. So think about winter. Obviously, for me, there's a daily temperature variance. There's a major gap in your morning temperatures and then in your afternoon temperatures. So what you would see usually in the mornings, you can get, depending in which part of the country you are, you can get a temperature in the morning of 2 degrees Celsius up until then later in the afternoon it can go up to 21, 22 degrees Celsius. So the main question then is how to heat up the houses and how to stimulate the birds for further growth during this period. So this is a temperature guideline provided through Avigen. The main thing that I want us to look at is basically the correlation between relative humidity and temperatures. So the main thing is with a higher humidity, you will have a bit of a lower temperature. with a lower humidity, we'll have a bit of a higher temperature. Why am I saying this? Anyone? It comes down basically to the effective temperature, what the chick actually feels at the end of the day. So if you look at central region, that's where we are based. Most of the times you won't have that high of humidity, moisture in the air. So we look at about of 50% humidity. In the mornings especially it will be a bit higher to 60. But if we compare it with our set points or our temperatures within the houses, which usually is 30 degrees Celsius, the chick will actually then feel a temperature of 36 degrees Celsius. If we go to 60% humidity with a 30 degrees Celsius within your house, the chick will actually then feel a 38 degrees Celsius. And that just increases with temperature and humidity. With that being said, obviously all of us sitting here, we do need to be within our houses and practice our stockmanship. Stockmanship basically comes down to sight. What do you see in the houses? Is the birds quite, what's their behavior? Are they quite active? Are they well spread? And stuff like that. And then also notice the smell within the houses. Is there high ammonia levels within the houses? Is it stuffy, meaning there's a lot of dust? That's also important. Hearing. Listen to the birds' vocalization. When they are a bit more vocal, it means sometimes that they are a bit more stressed. It can be temperature related. And then feel. Obviously, each of us, we've picked up a bird. You need to examine their crop fills. And then also listen to the fans. If you use fans, listen to the bearings or anything like that. And that goes back to hearing. So then just feel the air draft over your chicks. Obviously, if you feel a lot of air moving across you, just observe the chicks. It gets back to sight. They would usually just lay down if there's too much wind over them. Okay. Remember that I've mentioned chicks can't regulate their own body weight, their own body temperature. So chick behavior and with temperature. How many of you guys are using brooding rings? Show of hands. Brooding circle, that's basically where you keep the birds. Yes. Okay, so with a high temperature within the brooding rings, they would usually avoid the heating source. When they are comfortable and the temperature is correct, they would basically just be spread uniformly within the house. When they are too cold, they would huddle. They would just bundle together under the heating source. And with drafts, they would still huddle. However, this time they would be opposite of the draft direction. Okay. Same with a full house brooding, or where you place your birds. If it's too high, yet again, they would tend this time to go and lie against the walls to cool themselves down. They would also pant, which is very important to look at. That's basically evaporative cooling through panting. It looks like they are struggling to breathe sometimes. There's a very fine line between that and aspy. If it's correct, they would be well spread and they would be comfortable and exploiting normal behavior. When it's too low, obviously they would yet again huddle. However, when you do full house brooding, it will be a bit more difficult to notice if it's cold or is it air drafts. However, we have a slide just later in the presentation where we can basically just show you when it is a cold draft. So pre-placement, before you place your chicks, before you receive your chicks, obviously pre-warming is key. So you need to warm up your houses to ensure that this is the correct temperatures. For how long should we heat up our houses? Anyone? Okay. Depending obviously of you are correct, depending of what is the size of the houses and obviously of how many birds. We look at big quantities usually, so for 24 hours prior to the bird's arrival, we have the temperatures already stabilized, so it is on the temperature set point that you want to place it on. Okay. So what temperatures? The air should be between 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. Yet again, just please notice that's a standard, but with a relative humidity of 60 to 70. This is just a guide. Obviously, when your humidity is a bit lower, your temperatures would be a bit higher. Okay. Then floor temperatures, you need to have that also preheated. Usually we would suggest to heat it up at least before you spread your bedding material. If I may ask, what bedding material are you guys using? Shavings. Mostly shavings. Okay, good. Do you preheat your houses prior to spreading the shaving or after you spread the shaving? After you spread. Okay. What we will usually suggest is rather to spread it after or before spreading the litter to heat up the houses, just to get the floor temperature at the correct level. Okay. Thereafter, then you can start spreading your litter. So avoid very high floor temperatures. Why am I saying this? Basically due to the fact that there's a 2 degrees Celsius difference from your floor to your shavings. So litter temperature should then be 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. Another part of stockmanship and an easy way to see if your floor temperatures is too high or your litter temperatures is you can pick up the chick, take its feet underneath their feet. If it's too cold, obviously the chick is cold. If it's too warm, the chick is too warm. If it's fine, the chick is in its comfort zone. Okay, so that's also part of your stockmanship. So obviously there goes a lot of planning. You need to do planning prior to placing your chicks, but the question is there's a few key factors that we should look at. So obviously chicks should not have to travel more than 1 meter to access feed or water, just to allow them to have easier access and not expend too many energy to access their feed and water. Floor coverage of between 80 to 90% with brown paper or any chick paper. Some people even use, what's a courant? Newspaper, okay? Sorry. It's just basically for the chicks to have easier access. We also suggest to have additional scratch feeders and drinker fonts, if possible, to ensure, obviously, yet again, easier access to feed and water to achieve that objective of the chicks not having to travel more than 1 meter. Shaving bedding material during the winter, we usually suggest a 5 centimeter. I know shaving costs a lot of money, so it depends to your pocket at the end of the day. Okay, but ideally 5 centimeters in depth. Then a light intensity of 40 luxes. If you put it on 100%, if you measure it with a lux meter at chick level, you'll get it at 40 luxes. Okay. Is there any questions so far? Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, so you remove the paper. Usually we suggest 3 to 4 days, but depending if it's a smaller amount of birds, you keep it a bit longer. You can keep it up until 7 days. But however, as soon as you start seeing it's degrading, that's usually by day 3 or 4. Just remove it. Okay. Yes. Can I?
Thank you. Afsat, the question is, when exactly do we only leave the shaving, not putting the newspaper? After how many days or how many weeks? 3 to 4.
3 to 4 days. Okay. Does it sound about right to you guys? Is it what you do? Okay. Does that answer your question?
And what we also suggest is to take your chicken boxes and cut them, the boxes that the chicks come in. Cut the boxes low on the bottom holes and then use that for, to put a little bit of feed on that. Don't make it full, just put a little bit of feed so that the chicks can hear the other chicks and they all run there and
Very good point.
they teach themselves to
Yes.
eat like mother.
I agree, 100%. So no matter what you use, you just want something at least to keep the feet out of the shaving. Yes?
This gentleman, are you thinking that you should only have newspaper on the floor, but there should be shavings underneath the newspaper?
We've got. Thanks. We have shaving underneath. Then we have boxes and newspapers on top. So every day, like this morning, we've put in fresh newspapers, we've cleaned every day. And in the evening, we're gonna change those newspapers again. So my question was, when do I only put shaving? Only shaving so that the chick will move on top of shaving, not newspapers.
I was just thinking, maybe you think there should only be newspaper.
No, no. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So preparations, I'm going to ask the audience again. Unfortunately, I don't have any more gifts to give out, so feel free if you want to answer. What do you guys think about this setup? Do you agree with the setup? Is it a good setup? For day old, yes, that's pre-placement, yes. Is it a good setup? Correct. Yes, okay, I agree with you, but not just that. The feed on the paper, for me, is too much, okay? Obviously, the chick of a day old will not be able to finish this amount of feed within the first day. Usually it would take them a day and a half to 2 days, sometimes even 3 days. So obviously, as you can see, that's way too much. That's the same paper. That's when the chicks were placed. They are unable basically to finish that amount of feed. So we would rather throw a bit less feed, which we'll get to a bit later on. How about this one? Do you agree with this? Okay, good. I agree with that, and also I would remove the paper underneath the nipple lines due to the fact that it will just demolish it, and then just move it out to the sides, okay, to be in the middle. But you are correct. How about this? It's good setup? Good, I agree. So a good preparation, there's basically no magic involved. It's just hard work, careful planning, and then also teamwork and understanding of what is the chick's requirements. What do the chicks need? Okay, that's basically what you need to think about before you place your chicks. So scratch feeders, we always suggest, same as paper, do not overfill it, only fill it slightly. Can anyone tell me the reason why? Why I'm saying smaller quantities more often? Yes, sir? Yeah? They will I agree with that, yes.
In this scratch, the feed might over spill onto the floor.
You're also correct, yes. Mainly, we need to create an appetite among the chicks. So that's through getting them up, teaching them. Yes, they would teach each other, However, a rostrio 8 is a naturally lazier bird, so you need to get them up, you need to activate them, and through pouring smaller quantities more often, meaning obviously as you guys have seen on a day of placement, when you walk in your house, the chicks, they run behind you, okay, because they do not have a mother or father or anything to teach them. Okay, so you are the mother and the father. So with the smaller quantities, you would fill up usually then 3, 4, 5 times a day, and that would create an appetite among the chicks. Obviously, if it's too much, that chick would lose interest after the first crop fill. Just a quick question. How many feed can a crop take at once? How many grams? Sorry? You are correct. 5 grams, it's more, yeah, it's 3 to 4 grams on a very good day, 5. Okay? So that's just basically how it should look like. It's a bit less, but obviously if it's possible, you just refill it as soon as before it runs empty. I suggest not to flood feeder pans. Obviously, yet again, what do you guys think? Do you have feeder pans, automatic feeder pans? Do you use them? Anyone? Show of hands. Okay, maybe one day when you use them, rather bury it instead of putting it on a piece of paper. We would always suggest to bury the feeder pans to give access, because the only reason people flood their pans is basically to give a small chick access to the feed. However, a simple thing is just to lower your feeder pans into the shavings. That will give them automatically a bit more access, but then you allow yourself a smaller amount of feed within the feeder pans, so the chick would finish it also quite quick. With drinker fonds, we also suggest the same thing. Do not overfill it. Rather fill it 20 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on how many drinker fonds you have prior to the chick's arrival. Just for the same reason, that water can heat up quite quickly, especially if the chicks cannot consume the full fond within the first day. Nipple line heights. Is anyone using nipple lines? Yes. Well, that's basically a scratch feeder that this was on a specific farm that they turn around and they put the fond on top of that. Yeah, okay. You're speaking about this? Yeah, this is basically a scratch feeder. A lot of farmers do that. Yeah, yes, reg. Ja, that. Okay. So there's also 12 mini drinkers per 1,000 chicks. The nipple line heights and spaces allow fair access to water for all chicks. I've been on many farms where I get to the farm and then there's smaller chicks that's not being able to reach the nipple lines. We should think about those birds and give them a fair chance. Okay? Usually sometimes it's just a litter underneath the nipple lines, which will also make it a bit more difficult to reach. Bell drinkers, anyone using bell drinkers? Show of hands. Okay. That's basically the height. Yet again, allow fair access to all chicks. It should be level with the back of the chicks, and you obviously just adjust the height on a daily basis as the birds grow. Yes, sir. With die reg. You see, with the it should be level with the chick's back. Okay, you've seen that. So, when it comes to feed and water correlation, 98% of the time when water intake changes, your feed intake changes. Therefore, it is very much advisable to ensure to monitor your water intake on a daily basis. Obviously, an increase in water intake will occur as the birds will grow and also on warmer days. Remember, no water, equals no feed intake equals no growth. So you must make sure that your water is available 24 hours every day, and then also your feed. When it comes to brooding, it's basically the period when you are raising your chicks. We will always suggest to flush your lines or your water sources prior to the chicks' arrival, to allow optimal water temperature of 18 to 21 degrees Celsius. If your water is too cold, that's usually 5 degrees Celsius or less, there would be a reduction in water intake. If it's 18 to 21 degrees Celsius, the water intake would be optimal. Greater than 30 degrees Celsius, yet again there will be a reduction in your water intake. And then lastly, if it's above 44 degrees Celsius, your birds will basically refuse to drink any water. So placement, do you weigh your chicks on the day of placement? Good. Anyone else say? This is a good thing to do. The question is why? Well, basically, you have a starting point to work from, okay? And it assists with determining your 7-day body weight targets. Remember what I've mentioned about your growth factor, it's 4.5 to 5 times. So if you have a placement weight, you can determine then what is your 7-day body weights. Then you can determine your CV as well on the day of placement and going forward. Do you guys weigh on day 7? How many of you? Okay. Day 14, 21, 28. Okay. If it's possible, please weigh your chicks. I know sometimes it's not always possible, but we will always suggest to do so. So then also, as I've mentioned, we should take vent temperatures, as the question previously, or what I've asked. It's basically used to determine if your environmental conditions is optimal for the chicks. Yet again, your vent temperature should be between 39.4 and 40.5 degrees Celsius. Main factors for success is management, temperatures, feed and water intake, crop fills, 7-day body weights, and your 7-day mortalities. So when it comes to crop fill, anyone doing crop fill checks? Okay. We would highly advise you guys to do crop fill checks. That's basically a very essential tool, very basic, to see if your chicks have found feed or water. Okay. So we would usually suggest that 2 hours after placement that your chicks would have, or 75% of your chicks would have full crops. Up until 4 hours you would want 80% full, and then 8 hours 80 and above, 12 hours 85 and above, and then 24 hours after placement you want your 95% and above chicks with full crops. Crop fill assessments: collect a good amount of chicks within 3 different locations within your house. The sample should basically represent the flock, so the more you collect, the more chicks you assess, the better. Okay. Gently feel the crop of each chick. Do not squish it. Just feel it gently. You will have a good idea. So categories: full, soft and rounded, well done. Your chicks have found feed and water. Full but hard with regional feed texture. Your chicks have found feed but little to no water. And then full but soft with chicks found obviously water but little to no feed. And then obviously crop empty, you failed. Okay. So yet again, the growth factor, the genetic potential is 4.5 to 5 times its initial weight. So what is my 7-day body weight targets then? Remember, we use in the field 7-day body weight targets to determine your development, but also just the growth projection going through to your cycle. So the performance objectives mention that you should have a weight of 213 grams on day 7. However, that would be for a placement weight of 44 grams on the day of placement. That's a total of 4.84 times its initial weight. That's why we are mentioning that we should weigh our chicks on day of placement, day 7, day 14, going forward, every 7 days if possible. So are you extracting the full potential? For those that are weighing their chicks, if you receive a 39 gram chick, should your 7-day body weight target be 213? No. No, you are correct. Obviously, you times that with a minimum of 4.5, and your target should then be 175.5 grams on the day of place. On day 7. Okay. 7-day mortality. We usually say that on day 7, 1% or less of your chicks should have died. Okay. Anything above that, it can be a disease challenge, quality issue, whatever it might be. High mortality rates, especially at the end, will have impact on your feed conversion and subsequent performances. So feed conversion is basically the nutrients that nutrient intake that they convert basically into body mass. Okay. Now ventilation, I just want to know by show of hands, how many of you have controlled environment houses? We have fans, heaters, inlets, stuff like that? No one? Okay. The main thing to remember for ventilation is to remove any moisture levels or control moisture levels within your houses, remove harmful gases, create an air exchange to get fresh air within the houses, control litter quality, and manage the effective temperature of the chick felt. Remember what we said, 39.4 to 40.5. Air quality, this is for all the basically clever people. So ammonia, ideally level 10 ppm and less. Carbon dioxide should be 3000 ppm or less. What we see in the field is usually 2,800, 2,500. Carbon monoxide, ideal levels is 10 ppm. Then obviously your dust can, it's basically just to control it for respiratory reasons. And then your humidity, ideal level 50 to 60% after brooding, after 7 days. Okay. Obviously, if you enter your houses or whatsoever and your eyes burn or your nose is burning or you can smell quite ammonia within the houses, you know you need to ventilate. Okay.
You must remember a chicken is a bird, and birds' natural habitat is flying around outside, so they get a lot of fresh air. For a bird to be in a cage and closed, it's not healthy. They're all going to get sick if you close the cage too much. So remember that.
Yes, agree. That's a good point. So use minimum ventilation from the day of placement. That allows just some ventilation coming within the cages or whatever you are using. Establish a minimum ventilation rate to provide air exchange and to remove waste gases while maintaining temperature. Yet again, avoid cold air drafts. Cold air drafts is really not good for the chicks, so you must make sure that they are well protected from it. Monitor your chick behavior to determine if the environmental conditions are correct. If we go back to the previous slides, if they huddle, they are cold. If they avoid a certain area and huddle, it means there's a cold air draft. So yeah, just make sure you get in the houses to observe your chick's behavior. Then minimum ventilation should run on a cycle timer and not temperature. What I see in the field sometimes is to maintain the temperature within the houses during winter when it's cold outside. The people tend to switch off ventilation. That can cause serious damages to the birds. Okay. Obviously, it needs to be sealed. Your houses needs to be sealed properly for optimal ventilation to take place. If your houses is not sealed, the pressure within the house would not be optimal, and that would mean that the air would just drop on the chicks and create cold drafts on the birds. So seal your houses. This is not a good example, but still is. You seal it quite good, however they forgot about the bottom. It got loose. So ensure to have it well covered and protected.
Remember, this is an environmentally controlled house.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the houses that we use on our
Okay,
Opposplaza.
I wasn't sure what you guys are using, but hopefully I am. Hopefully there's some of you taking something from this. Obviously, if you are looking through a thermal camera and you see, remember I've mentioned it's sometimes difficult to see if it's a cold air draft. You don't need just a thermal camera for this. You can just observe the chicks. If they avoid the area where the wind is coming in, that means they are experiencing a cold air draft coming into the house or brooding area or whatsoever. This is how it should look, well spread, and they are not avoiding the air coming in. Key points for minimum ventilation. It is essential to provide some ventilation to the houses regardless of the outside conditions. Yet again, people tend to switch off ventilation during winter. Minimum ventilation is used for young chicks, nighttime, or in cold weather. As soon as your temperature goes above your set point, that's when you will start moving into transitional ventilation, all of those type of things. Make sure you have enough static pressure to prevent cold air dropping. As I've said, make sure there's enough pressure within the houses so that there's no air dumping directly onto the chicks. If incoming airflow speed is low, cold air drops, obviously cold air drafts, there must be no cold air drafts at bird level. This is basically a CITES. Dr. Orendal will give you maybe a better of explanation, but that happens when you restrict oxygen supply, higher carbon monoxide levels within your houses and stuff like that. So in summary, environmental conditions play a major role in our industry. Do not overheat your houses. Avoid cold air drafts. Do not restrict ventilation. It is important to get the chicks drinking and eating as soon as possible to start the utilization of the yolk sac. A good chick start is of utmost importance for structure of the gut and the ability to absorb nutrients. Best equipment you can have is yourself, stockmanship, which we've already discussed, and time. We should make choices in time, act quickly, and make sure that our chicks are comfortable. I thank you. There is my number. If anyone wants to contact me, please do so. And then everything that I spoke about today, you can just go on our website and find all the handbooks, nutrition specifications, and all of those type of things. Sorry, Tate. Yeah. Ja, so okay, ek gaan net Afrikaans so as jy te veel water in jou fond gooi, né? Daai kykkie is nog klein, so hy gaan nie al daai water vir die dag kan drink. So wat gebeur as hy water hy word warm? Onthou ek het gesê die watertemperatuur hy moet 18 tot 21 grade Celsius wees, né? So as hy hoër gaan, hy voel hy gaan nie baie drink nie. Onthou hy is klein voel. So hy gaan nie al daai water kan drink nie. So dis hoekom ons sê gooi bietjie minder op die einde van die dag. Exactly. En warm water en dan gaan hy net glad nie drink nie. So gooi bietjie minder en dan as soos wat hulle hom klaar maak, jy kan net weer refill. Okay. Ons sê.
Vra nou.
Ja.
Kan jy nie vorm.
Ja.
ek weet dit is 'n groot storie.
Ja.
Maar wat is die grootste oorsaak? Ek kan nie regtig daai vraag vra nie. Daar's
Okay, die
honderde oorsake
ja.
van
Dit hang af, kyk as jy 'n uniformity probleem het op die dag van plasing, obviously grading moet na gekyk word by die hatcheries. So jy is klaar in 'n disadvantage. Dis hoekom ons altyd sê om jou voëls te weeg op die dag van plasing om die variasie te kan sien. Sorry, I'm going to switch back to English, okay? So the uniformity becomes an issue. If it comes from the hatchery, obviously there's a few methods just to adjust on that. Basically, what we do is we split the bigger birds from the smaller birds and then manage them separately up until day 7. If it's later in the cycle, it can be feeder pans, heights, nipple line heights, shaving level underneath the pans and also underneath the nipple lines. Access to feed and water can cause also major uniformity issues. Hence the reason we always advise to weigh your chicks individually, okay, if possible, especially with the quantities that you guys have, you can weigh your chicks, okay. That would give you a good indication of what is your CV or your uniformity. Does that answer the question?
ja, dit help.
Good. Anything else, anyone? Sorry? Yeah, but that's for uniformity. Remember, if we speak about uniformity, it is related to your body weights as well, okay?
Yes, some of customers, they might need that information because they ask me to get their chicks sometimes they don't go in 6 weeks, they don't go equal. So maybe just clarify for them.
Obviously, you need to go and have a look on your farms, okay? That's why we need to be in the farm, in the houses on a daily basis. You need to ensure that all chicks have access to feed and water, as your uniformity will be affected from that. So just think about it this way. If you have a small chick over a bigger chick, the smaller chick will basically not reach what the bigger chick can reach, and then what will often happen is the bigger chick would dominate the smaller chick. Okay, it will basically bully him, so he won't be able to drink optimally or feed optimally. Yes, sir.
I have two questions. I'm not sure whether they will be covered as we
Yes.
but one is comes from the good shavings.
Yes.
Then, is it advisable for turning good shaving at a certain point of time? Because when I do that, I can feel the carbon dioxide coming out.
Yes.
Chicks will be there.
Yes.
Are they not going to be affected when I turn good shaving?
They will. So, but it depends. If your wood shavings was wet from the beginning, obviously that will have an impact. Okay. Hence the reason you should start turning on the day of placement. Not day of placement, say day 2, day 3. Okay, but you shouldn't allow it to get wet at all. Okay. Second question.
Second question is, I have my chicks. Now I see one is not feeding. I can see it's not feeding well. Then, should I take that one out and treat it, or should I keep every chick by octopus?
Yeah, look, it depends at the end of the day. If you have a disease challenge, obviously you need to get a veterinarian out to come and confirm and give antibiotics. However, if you see a chick as a non-starter, meaning it's only 1 or 2 or 3 birds, you see they are lazy or they are sick, they look depressed, they do not eat, they do not drink, remove that one. But if it becomes a lot, obviously you need to start looking to your veterinarian, okay, for them to come and confirm. Excuse, ja?
Wat is die ideale gewig op 6 weke?
Okay, op 6 weke ons wat ek sien in die veld is op 4 weke. Ons slag gewoonlik op 4 weke. Dit is gewoonlik 1.8 tot 2 kilogram. Daar's baie keer 1.7's, 1.8's tot met 2 kilogram. Okay. 6 weke kan opgaan, hang af hoe hom bestuur. Hy kan opgaan tot en met 2.5 tot en met 2.8 kilos.
Dis nou lewendige gewig.
Lewendige gewig, ja.
Ja, myne is 5 weke 3.6.
Voilà. Goeie werk. Dat is baie goed. Ek weet nie, ek het my tyd gemors hierso. Nee, ek speel. Anyone else?
So, my question is, for us, the small farmers, right? You've got, you don't have a lot of chicks. The heating methods. There's quite a different ways. Maybe if you can touch on. I mean, some people would use gas. Some people would use electricity. Where we are at, there's load reductions and whatnot. You can't even rely on electricity. And then there's also, if you can, like maybe people would use coal. And what are the advices that you can give us in terms of, especially if you don't have that reliability on electricity, your costs are so restricted. Then sometimes you then tend to, let's say, okay, you can use coal, it will last the whole night, but there's also dangers of carbon monoxide. So if you can maybe touch on those.
For me personally, what I see in the field, I see all three. I see people using gas, I see people using coal, mostly, majority is coal, and then I see some people using other methods. Okay, the main thing is the best suitable for you and your pocket. Okay, obviously we would use radiators with coal. That is one part. I don't really know how to answer your question because it depends from each individual at the end of the day.
But which one is better? Which one is like the main character on the heating up room?
Which is the main?
To use.
I'm not going to sell anything, but let's say coal. Okay, because that's majority what we see.
For that you need a lot of ventilation.
Rid of it, but obviously your coal should be outside the house, and there should be like a heater socket into your house, like a plastic socket into your house, blowing the warm air into the houses. So you don't put that in the houses. No. So you don't put the coal in the house. Obviously, as you said yourself, it can cause a lot of damage. Okay? Especially if you use shaving, you will have fried chicken. If you have coal within your houses and it drops on that shaving. Yes, sir.
My question is, if I'm using lights to heat my
Yes,
the
yes.
house, after how many days should I remove the lights?
It depends on the chick's comfort. Okay? If your chick starts panting, as I've said, no panting. It's like they sit with their wings open, and then if they do that, they are too hot, you can start removing. Okay? But not all at once. Remove slowly but surely up until you see your chicks are comfortable or not. Okay?
The other question, is it good when the shaving is wet or dirty to remove and replace?
Yeah, look, it depends. If it's worse, if it's really bad, I would rather get rid of it if possible, financially. But if you can manage it through turning, allowing some air over the shaving, that would also assist. Okay? But we usually replaced, where I farmed, we replaced it when it was really, and it's bad to say this, but when it was wet. If we had a drinker that maybe spilled or stuff like that. Okay? So, I'm going to ask you questions up until 12 o'clock. Did you get my number there? Yes.
Good morning,
Good morning.
and thank you for the good presentation. But I'm having a question as a new farmer.
Yes.
I might have missed some of the information because maybe you were just flowing with the presentation.
Sorry, I apologize for that.
When can I change the shavings in the chick's house? And maybe let me give you a clue. Can I leave them until they are 6 weeks and get out for as long as the shavings are dry? Or is there a specific time that I need to change them?
Good. So we remove it after each turnaround. So every time your chicks is sold and you don't have chicks anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you remove it, you clean it, you clean the area where the chicks was, and then when your new chicks is coming, you put new shavings. Okay? But as I mentioned to that good sir there, it depends if your shaving is really bad and in poor conditions, and there's no way for you to get it dry again, and it's not manageable, remove it.
Okay. One more question.
Yes.
As I was looking at the slides there,
Yes.
I've observed we put the shavings, and is it plastic? Is it proper for me to put plastic there over the shavings?
Yes, you can use. Basically, the reason for doing that is obviously, first of all, to give additional space for the feed, to access feed and water without traveling more than 1 meter,
Okay.
but also mainly for the feed that's on that paper not to spill into the letter. Okay. So nevertheless, you can use what you want. Okay?
Okay.
Whatever fits your pocket.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, you can cut the boxes, and on the bottom holes, right around, you cut the boxes, and then you put a little bit of feed in the boxes, and then that's sufficient as well. It's free. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm having a challenge.
Yes.
Well, the chicks that we get,
Yes.
well, the thinking of a layman might say, perhaps the eggs that you are hatching,
Yeah.
they are not of the same size. I mean, concerning the growth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You find that the chicks that you have, some are growing very fast and some are not growing. And one other thing, the mortality.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what could be.
Okay, so obviously with the size, obviously there's a grading issue sometimes, okay? Coming from the farm, going to the hatchery. I know I would step on a few toes right now, but I mean, what is truth at the end of the day. If you have poor grading at the farm, you have smaller eggs and bigger eggs. But what can be another thing is 2 different flock ages, parent stock, okay? So maybe you have a 40-weeker and a 35-weeker laying, okay? Breeder. That's laying an egg at the same time, going to the hatchery, and then, for example, each of them are hatched, but they go to your farm to give you the quantity that you require, okay? Yet again, you're then in a disadvantage of having not the same size. That's why we always suggest you weigh your own chicks on the day of placement. Okay? But there's a way to manage that. As I've mentioned, you can divide the bigger birds from the smaller bird to give them that chance, okay? And also to allow the smaller bird more feed, not more feed in the sense of pouring more feed, but removing the bigger bird obviously gives them that, advantage to feed, okay? Because the bigger bird would basically just dominate the smaller bird. So what you can do with when do you receive, or let me ask this, when you have mortality, Is it early mortality? In which, how many days?
Yeah, after a week or so.
After a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Week, so we can work on 7 days. After 7 days, and you might give me a slap, but after 7 days, it's not a hatchery anymore.
I'm sorry, just to interrupt quickly there. We receive chicks from Mondays to Fridays every day, so they are graded and checked and counted and make sure that they're on weight and no scraps. And then we send it out to you as the client. So if you have chicks after 7 days, you know, must remember, like he said, they cannot maintain their own heat for the between 5 to 10 days. So after 12 days about, they can start maintaining their own heat. This can be if you have chicks that are smaller or bigger than the other one. It could be that your placement of your food, that they cannot reach the food properly. So it depends on how big is your house, as you can place 100 chicks in 10 square meters. That's in summer. So in summer you can place 8 to 10 chickens per square or chicks per square meter. In winter it's between 12 and 15 chickens per square meter. So it depends on your housing and how many floors how many squares are available for them to move, and how many feeders do you have available for that quantity of chicks that you have, and is it reachable for them. And as he says, as soon as some of the chickens are experiencing there's not enough food, the ones that can get to the food, they will fight off the smaller ones that cannot reach the food, so they will fall behind. If you do pick it up in the first 7 days, to avoid this, put them separately to pick up the pace. Because if you continuously leaving them in the room where they are, then they will still fall behind, because they will be kept on being bullied because they are smaller. But you're more than welcome to come and see me after presentation, so that we can maintain what is the quantity of food that you're using, the size of your feeders, how many feeders you have from day one, what temperatures your house are, so that we can see where is the problem. Because the chicks, you only receive one flock. We know where each and every flock is going to every day, and we take very good care for each and every chick that's going out in the morning. Thank you.
The last question was the mortality rate. And this mostly happens during December time. Mostly. During December time, we are having a problem. I'm having a problem.
Okay.
The chicks that I buy.
Come and see me after the presentation. That's it from my side.
Okay. Question from the readers. Thank you so much. Okay guys, I just want to let you know we are recording this day as well, and the presentations will also be available with the video in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it will be on our YouTube channel and on our website, where you will be able to watch the video and download the presentations done here today as well. Okay guys, this is Dr. Mike Wittendal. He's a veterinarian, and pay close attention. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm with the Disease Institute for Disease Control, but we work with chickens, but we also do some other animals as well. We develop continuous vaccines, including for poultry, but I am the poultry veterinarian for this practice. I've been in practice for quite some time. It's too long to mention, otherwise you might judge my age. It doesn't matter. But I think we have one thing in common this morning, and that is we love chickens. I love chickens. I like to keep them healthy, and I like to eat them. I like KFC, and I like to fry my chicken every Sunday. So, you know, to me, that's I can eat the fruit of my efforts during the week. And I think the same applies to you, because you wouldn't have been here if you didn't have an interest in chicken. But I think, the chicken to me is an amazing animal. I think it's one of God's precious gifts to us as mankind. To grow these little things and to see how they prosper and at the end to make money from them. And I think the only reason why we become involved in chickens and poultry is for us to enjoy them and to make a living from it. And to make a living, they must grow and they must be healthy. But I think, I think Tristan did an excellent job. He gave us a lot of good information, the basic stuff. I'm going to expand a bit on that, using the knowledge that he imparted with us, and go one step further to look at the health of the birds, because your management is the foundation of your success. You have to do certain things right. Because one thing about the chicken, although it's a gift from God, He doesn't forgive you if you make a mistake. If you make a mistake, the chicken will not forgive you. He will not grow and he will die. But I think, this morning, after this morning, you'll get a lot of good information to use in your practice, or to use on your farming practice, to grow nice, strong, healthy chickens which you can sell and which you can also utilize. Okay, I think this morning I'd like to combine management and diseases. I think you can appreciate this picture. That guy's looking for lines. He wants to do some game review. But he's looking there. When I saw this picture, it reminded me of the poultry industry. We want to grow strong chickens. We want to, yeah. But the problem is here, lying behind you. But I think this is the nice thing about poultry. It's always a challenge. There's always something new. Always something happens that will take your attention from the problem and fix it on something else. I think in the poultry industry, it's a very common thing for people to blame each other. If your chickens are dying, you blame the supplier. If your chickens are not growing, you blame the guy that looks after the chickens. And then, or you blame the feed, or you blame this, or you blame that. But I think we need to move away from that concept and just come back to ground level and to see what your issues are. Okay, if you want a nice, healthy chicken, there are many things that play a role on the growth, the well-being of the chicken. If the chicken is healthy and is happy, he will grow. And if he grows, he will keep on growing, because that will be the challenge for you, for us as as poultry stockmen. I regard myself as a poultry stockman as well. You need to keep him healthy every day. It's not a matter if you put him in a cage, close the door, give him enough food, and come back a week later. It's a 24/7 situation. You must know what's happening with your chickens most of the day. So we include the temperature plays a role, water supply, the lights you give it, the feed, ventilation, stocking density, nutrition, disease, and vaccination. But of all these three things, what do you think? For me, there are three main important things which will influence the growth and the health of the chicken. If you can give me one of those three, there are some prizes here which I've been asked to give out. What would be the first most important thing that you would give a chicken? Temperature. Yes. Nutrition, food. Food is very important. Okay, who's going to dish out these things? Gustav, can you make them extra? Hierdie dametjie hier so en daai dame daar. Lighting, yeah? Ja, wat hier so vir hierdie enetjie. Water. Water. Okay, vaccination is important, but food and water. And there's one other thing I'd like to highlight. Ventilation, yes. I think to me, if we mentioned a lot of things here, but there are three things which is every time of the day. Do I miss someone? Just lift your hand. Food.
I said water, I don't really.
Yes. Gustav, je moet hier zo ook hier meneer energie ook net. Yeah, I think those are things that consistently your water supply. Oh, you must have, but I've got another present for you. Sorry about that, but there was only 5, but we'll sort that. We'll give you something else. Okay, because water, feed, and air, oxygen. To me, those are things that if you change that, you play with the health and the well-being of your chicken. Okay. Yeah, I think Tristan also gave us some good background on the growth of the chicken. But you must remember, the chicken comes to you and he weighs 40 grams, 45 grams. At day 7, he weighs up to 200 grams, 4.5 times. Now this is it's a crucial period in the life of a chicken, and I think the most important thing is that was mentioned by Tristan as well, and I'm very pleased he did that, is that this chicken cannot control himself, his temperature, his well-being, so you must do that for him. Your temperature, your ventilation, your feed. One amazing thing about these chickens is when you place them, when they arrive in the truck from the hatchery, you put them on the floor and they start eating. They get thirsty, they drink, they go straight to the nipple line or to the bell drinker and they start drinking. It's that instinct they've got. Now if the temperature is nice and they are happy and comfortable, they will immediately start eating and drinking. Because if they don't start with those basic functions of life, if they don't start immediately, there must be something wrong. That's why your temperature, which is also mentioned, is important. If they get cold, you can knock them for a 6. Those birds will not grow. If you place them in a house that's cold, they don't like to be cold because they cannot control their own temperature because they need to eat. You must also remember that the yolk sac, which is part and parcel of the anatomy of the chicken, the yolk sac is important to provide nutrients before it starts to eat. So when it starts eating and drinking, the yolk that's in the yolk sac of the chicken will provide additional energy up to 2 to 3 days. So that's an additional source of nutrition for the chicken, but you must remember once again, the temperature of the chicken plays a big role. If he gets cold, he sits and he doesn't eat. If he loses 1 day of not eating because he's too cold, then he's 1 day behind in the growth. He's 1 day behind in what he needs to achieve at the end of the cycle. So the temperature and placement is crucial. That must be according to, there are regulations, but I think 32, 34, 35 even is a good temperature, but now you must remember, as they grow older, you drop your temperatures. But there are certain scales that you can adhere to. But temperature in a chicken is crucial. Because you think from day 1 to day 7 they increase their weight 4.5 times. When they grow up to 30 days, it could go up 25 to 30 times. They double their weight. If I as a human, or if we as humans had to have that doubling rate, we will not be able to enter that gate, that door there. We will just, and this shows, you know, we are not made that way, but chickens are made that way. They can achieve it because they've been bred that way. That's why I say it's one of God's miracles that was given to us to manage, and to manage him in such a way that at the end you get this beautiful little animal that is part and parcel of our well-being and of our success and of our survival. I don't want to complicate the issue, but I think it's important that we understand certain things. This is a graph that shows you the age, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When the chicken is hatched, and when it comes onto your farm, they've got protection, they've got maternal antibodies which they get from the egg. Now, those antibodies decrease until day 13, at 3 weeks. That's about 15 days, 16 days. So the antibodies they get from the egg decreases, and then we vaccinate. We normally vaccinate here. 2 vaccines that we have to use is Gumboro disease, and the other one is Newcastle disease. You vaccinate here, and then the immunity starts picking up. So you have to vaccinate to allow survival and to protect them from disease, so that to enable them to survive the challenges that will occur in this period here. Now, the other thing which we should also remember is that bacteria are little bugs that occur all over the place. Bacteria is one of the most common living things on earth. It's on your hands, in your ears, it's in your nostrils, it's in your mouth. They say, according to the literature, they say there are more bacteria in your mouth than that there are people on earth. So there's 9 billion people on earth and in your mouth. But 90% of those bacteria are good bacteria. So the good bacteria suppress the bad bacteria, and the bad bacteria, if they are allowed to grow, they will cause disease in your chickens, which we'll see just now. So as the chicken grows older, that's 6 weeks, your number of bacteria increases. But fortunately, your immune response to the diseases and also generally also increases as the chicken grows older. As they grow older. So, but you must also remember, as the chicken grows older, it gets bigger, around 3-4 weeks, that's a period of a lot of stress. This chicken is growing like a little rocket, and they get bigger, and the space around them are getting smaller. The competition for food, the competition for water becomes higher and higher and higher. So the older the chicken gets, the more demanding and the more problems you are going to have, or he's got to survive. That's why we need to make sure that we have enough space for this little chicken to survive. So I think that's an important thing. The chicken gets older. You must make sure that your temperature is in alignment with the growth of the chicken. Your ventilation is good. You must drop your curtains. You must make sure there's enough space for for feeding, for drinking water, and also enough fresh air to come in. And I'll show you some diseases that are associated if you do not drop your temperature, if you do not give adequate ventilation. There are certain diseases that will certainly become more prevalent. Okay, I think we've touched on this. Water feed, oxygen, preparation, sanitation, disinfection, that's also a very important thing. I think Teresa from DIAC will give you some indication and advice on how to treat that. It's very important. Clean water, biosecurity, clean your houses, disinfection, all those things play a very important role. The type of bedding you're using is also important. The placement density is also important. Now you can't put, if we take per square meter and open house accommodation for the chickens, you know, we're talking 12 to 15 birds per square meter. That's the most you can go. The closed houses, the environmental houses, they go up to 22, 24 birds per square meter. But this is not something we would like to achieve in an open house. Okay, I think this is what a closed house looks like at about 20, 22 birds per square meter. There's a lot of birds, but you've got space. And you allow them that space. And when they get bigger, they still have enough space to move around. One of the things is, the important thing is, especially at placement, is your balance between hot and cold. If the chickens are getting cold, they'll huddle like this. They'll get together and they will stay together. They don't eat, they don't drink. If they don't eat or drink, this is where you start getting your uneven sizes. So, you know, I think what Lindy says is important, or that other lady said is important. You know, they grade the chickens, they give you a certain standard of chicken. And those chickens, when they are placed, they must start running and eating and drinking, and they must play around. So that's why your environment, your temperature must be controlled in such a way that the birds are happy. You can do this very, very well with the closed house, with open houses, curtain houses. But just as a matter of interest, I've got some clients with closed environmental houses, and I've got some clients with open houses, curtain houses. And it may sound strange to you, but the open houses sometimes produce better quality chickens than those with the closed houses with all the fancy computers and stuff. So it doesn't mean that if you have an open curtain house, it doesn't mean that you cannot achieve those production figures which will allow you to make a success of it. This is the same picture as what I showed. There you can see the chickens huddling together, and there are open spaces because they are getting cold. And I think, you know, in one of his thermal picture images that Kristen showed us, he showed the cameras indicating this exactly the same situation. So your temperature must be wide, and it must be even, and the chickens feel it, and they will show you. If you walk into a house and they show you this irregular distribution of birds, a lot of birds, less birds, then you must try and do something about it. See how you can equalize your temperature throughout the whole house. Okay, here there's a good balance. You can see the birds are distributed evenly. You know, if you walk into your house, the first thing you look at the birds. I think the first thing you must always do when you enter your chicken house, spend 5 minutes at the door, look, see what your chickens are doing. Because they will tell you exactly what's going on in that house and if they are happy or not. So, you know, just to sit and look, they will always tell you a story. As a veterinarian, the dead chicken always, I tell the guys, they talk to me, they tell me a story. The dead chicken will tell me exactly what goes on in your house. because they will show me. If the chicken is not happy, they will not eat, and they will die. If they die, if they don't eat, they don't grow. If they die, it's a dead loss for you. It is a loss of a part of your income that you would have earned if they didn't die. Okay, we spoke about non-starters, and I think, you know, you look at the birds, and you see their movements. You'll easily be able to pick out the non-starters. The little chicks, look at that one there. That one is a healthy one. This one can't walk. This one sits. He doesn't want to eat. He doesn't want to move. And there you can see the nicer, you know, the nicer birds. One thing I always look at, and I think this is one of those things that you must adjust your eyes when you walk into the house. You can see that fat little, it's his stomach falling, you know, what we would say in Afrikaans, he's got a boopends, but it's to the back, it's not to the front. So, you know, it's important to look at those, because if that is little, his muscular stomach that moves to the back, because he's eating, it's developing, it's growing, it needs to enlarge to enable the chick to take in more feed. So if he's got this little stomach balls at the back here, this is what you'd like to see, because that tells you that your chicken is growing. These are leg problems. The other lady just mentioned leg problems. You have chicks that develop leg problems, but this is a condition that occurs. It can occur in the egg before hatching, and it can occur after the egg, after the chick has hatched. You see these little chicks, they can't walk. And if you pick them up, you'll see that the joints there are swollen and that they are not functional. That's a normal one. This is what a normal one should look like. The one on the right hand side. You know, it's nice. You can see it's healthy. You must also train yourself to look at legs that are normal and legs that are abnormal. Because if you train your eye and you observe all the things that are wrong, that doesn't look healthy, that doesn't look functional, then those chicks must be taken out, because this chick will not survive. So I killed it. Sometimes you find lesions that occur, like this little chick, it developed gangrene in the foot there, because this is probably crate damages. And you can see, you know, it's extremely painful, and you won't be able to walk. He doesn't eat, he doesn't drink water, so he's going to die in any case, so you might relieve him of his stress. And then you get poor growth. This is a chicken, I pulled off the skin of this chicken. You can see the keel bone there, the breastbone. And then you can see, you know, there's no muscle development, so this poor chick didn't grow. This chick was 3 days old, and even now you can see there's no muscle developing, because muscle development in the breast is important, because that's part of the weight. That's part of the weight gain of the chicken, and that's also part of the portion that people like to eat. And then you get chickens with abnormalities, genetic abnormalities. You can see he doesn't have an eye, and his beak is skewed. So it's yeah, you can see the beak is skewed. So it's not functional. So this chick can't eat. You know, he's useless. So you know, it's no use keeping on with those chicks. Okay. Then we call what we call is non-starters. Now, a non-starter is a chick it's a small chick. It looks like a little piece of fluff with 2 legs running around, you know, like a cotton ball, a yellow cotton ball with 2 legs, and it's running around, you know. And you can easily differentiate him from a healthy chick that normally would run and eat and drink, you know. They like to play chicken, and they run around. If they run around and they're active, that's a very good sign, because that tells you those chickens are healthy. And then you find that if you open them up, and that's why I do lots of postmortems, and I think that's a part of my work that tells me what's going on your farm, what sort of chicken, what conditions your chickens are subjected to. But you can see the liver there, that's your liver, that's your thoracic cavity, the heart is in there, the heart's in there. Your yolk sac, which is lying here, has not been absorbed. This chicken is 3 days old. At this age, that yolk sac should have been gone. It should have been absorbed. But this chicken didn't absorb it. And you can see the liver, and there's your gallbladder, which has not been utilized, because your gallbladder is part of the digestion system of the chicken, where it needs to utilize the gall to digest the food so that it can grow. So that tells me that this chicken is a non-starter. So ultimately you will find that this chicken is becoming a troll. He's a non-starter. He doesn't grow. He's not going to start. Even if you can get him to start eating, he will not become a viable chicken that you can sell. So, those are the things that I think, being a chicken farmer, you must always be aware of your mortality in your house. That's why every morning you must pick up all your mortalities and write them in a book. And keep date of your mortalities. If your mortalities stay constant, it's not a bad sign. I like single figure mortalities. But if it starts going into double figures, 10, 15, 20, 30, then you must know there's something wrong. So that's why it's always a good thing to, on your date, the age of the bird, make a note of your number of mortalities that you see. I'm just going to run through some mortalities from day 1 to 7. The most important ones. The diseases here, or the conditions here, is what I see regularly, or what I've seen in the last 2 months. 8 to 20 days, the disease pattern tends to change. There's different diseases for the first week, and then for the second, third, fourth week, they change a bit. Your disease pattern changes. I'll just look at some of the diseases that could be observed. And then 21 to 30 days, it's very much the same. It's very much the same as for the diseases you get after 10 days. So I'll run through some of those diseases which you can observe. But I like to categorize my type of mortalities into 4 different types, of which 2 are metabolic and 2 are other diseases. Now, what I mean by metabolic, it means that's a disease that was caused by us as humans. Me, you. You made a mistake. That's a disease. That's a metabolic disease. That's a disease that could have been prevented if my management was perfectly correct. So, metabolic means growth. I did something to impede the growth of the chicken. I did something to distort the growth pattern of the chicken. That means, that's what I mean by metabolic. It's a man-made issue, man-made disease. The first one is sudden death. Now, sudden death is heart attack. Heart attack chickens. And within 10 seconds, I want you to remember, it takes a chicken 10 seconds to die from a heart attack. He's perfectly healthy. He's eating, he's drinking water, and he drops down dead. Within 10 seconds, he's dead. Okay, so that's a fast disease. It's like in humans, but it's not the same cause. It's a different cause. Because what happens is, and I would also like to associate a sudden death with, if I can mention one issue that is the cause of heart attack, it's temperature. High temperatures. Because as these chickens grow up, they grow very fast, as we've heard in the past, in this talk and the previous one. Temperature is very important, but you must remember, as they grow, they also they increase their temperature, and they become metabolically active. It increases the temperature. But now, this is where we need to drop. As the chickens grow older, we drop our temperature to accommodate them. And the one thing you must remember about a chicken, it doesn't have a cooling system like we have. It's like a dog. They can only get rid of excess heat if they pant. That's the only way a chicken can get rid of his heat when he pants. So what we have to do now is, they build up heat themselves. You've got heat in your house. We must ventilate or open the curtain to make sure that the excess heat that's produced by the chicken is removed, to allow him to have a comfortable environment where he can live and survive. So the first one, and I'll show you some pictures just now, which is an important cause of mortality, is sudden death, which is metabolic, man-made. The second one is a bit more complicated. It's what we call water belly ascites. You've seen those birds. You may have seen it. Sometimes it's very easy to observe. I'll show you some slides, which is also a very important condition. And now we're going into winter. It's especially more prevalent in winter than what it is in summer. Why? Because in summer, it's hot. We open the curtains. Fresh air. When it's winter, it's cold. What do? We close the curtains. No fresh air, no oxygen. And the CO2, the carbon dioxide build-up is excessive for the chicken. It cannot handle that, because the chicken likes fresh air, like we do. If they don't get fresh air, they die, because it's a lack of oxygen. If we don't get fresh air, we die, because we need oxygen for our survival. So that's why I regard it as a metabolic disease as well, because the first one, sudden death, is high temperature. The second one is ascites, water belly, no oxygen, or low oxygen. Okay. Then the third one is an easy one, but it's also a very uncomfortable one, because this is all your diseases. That's why we need to vaccinate for the Borer disease and Newcastle. We have to vaccinate. If you don't vaccinate, it's going to kill your chickens. And then all the bacteria, and there's another disease called coccidiosis, but the feed companies normally include the coccidiostats in the feed, so we don't have a problem with coccidiosis. And then the other condition which I regard as a cause of mortality is where I put all the other mortality which doesn't fit into my first three categories. I put them into the fourth one, because that will be my non-starters. Those that I showed you in the beginning, chickens that don't grow, they become small, they develop leg problems. You've seen those chickens with a splay leg, injuries. I put all my mortalities there. And then I can just try and distinguish and pick out which is more prevalent than the other one. If there's a lot of injuries. I've seen birds with, let's say, head injuries, because when they are caught and created for going to the processing plant, the crates are not properly closed, and they bash their heads, and their brains are crushed. You know, that sort of injury, which is a fatal injury, which is not necessarily a disease, it's not a man-made thing, but it is a cold. So this is my four areas of mortalities. Okay, let's look at yolk sac infections, which we find in chickens, which is obvious the first couple of days. I think normally at 2 or 3 days, your peak in mortalities will occur, and this is what you will see. I'll try and explain. There's the legs of the chicken. The head of the chicken is there, and the legs are here. And if you open up the skin and you peel it back, this is what you would be confronted with. You see, the yolk sac has not been absorbed or will not be absorbed because it's infected. And it looks like you've got a yellow, red, and sometimes you find it looks like a road map, all the red veins that appears on the yolk sac. There you find another, that is your navel. You'll sometimes find that the navels are also inflamed. You can see there, and there you can see your yolk sac. You can see the abdomen here, the thorax is there, that's your liver. That's your liver, and the head of the chicken is there, the legs are here. So if you peel back the skin, you will see, the first thing you'll see is this yolk sac, which looks like an apricot. It's also got a red color to it from the distended veins on the yolk sac. Okay, this may also seem a bit confusing, but I think, you know, if you look at there's the intestines and there's a yolk sac lying there. It's been partially absorbed, not totally, but it's also, it qualifies as a yolk sac infection. And there you can see, you know, there's your heart, there's your wings, the heart is there, the lungs are there, your stomachs are there, your intestines, and there you've got this remnant of your yolk sac, which is still active and inflamed, and that's also part of your yolk sac infection and the mortality of your chicken. Yeah, there's a bit of a more of a, you know, if you observe it in total, that's your chicken. You can see that yolk sac, and it's got a distended belly. It's not, you know, it is very easily observable that you cannot miss this type of infection. This, as opposed to cold chickens, just look at the difference in size. These are from the same batch. They grew a bit, but those chickens didn't grow at all. And you know, these chickens are probably 4 or 5 days old, so it just shows you how they did manage to grow in 4 or 5 days, and those birds that didn't grow, they've got no size. You know, this is a non-starter. And this is a bird with full-blown mushy chick. We call it mushy chick, we call it egg yolk sac infection, and so on. Okay, so non-starters. Come back to the live birds. You'll be able to observe them. You can see them sitting, lying, not being able. You can easily discern them, easily look at them. But those birds, it's normally not worthwhile to try and save them, to try and rescue them, to try and feed them. You know, it's just one of those things. You have to take them out. You have to kill them. Okay, and there you can see the difference in size. You know, the difference is so obvious. Look at that. You know, there's the same chickens, and you can't spend time on the chicken like that. you have to take him out. And that one is your bigger one, and this one is your non-starter. Okay, if you open up the bird, you know, I like to open up the whole bird, you know, you look at all the intestines and you look at the stomachs and so on. And your gizzards will always, you know, they won't look normal. The gizzard is your little, the muscular stomach. That will, if you open up, you will see all sorts of funny signs inside. You will see signs of damage. You know, it will have discoloration. You know, these chickens are 3 days old, and look at their stomachs. You know, if its stomachs look like that, it won't eat. It cannot eat. And then you have, as what I described just now, your liver is non-functional. The liver didn't even start to function. You can see the gallbladder there, the yellow liver, and the small chicken. You know, this is part of your syndrome which occurs in chickens. Okay, aspergillus. Aspergillus, I think you may have seen some of it, although I think, you know, with good quality chicks you normally don't see it. I see a wide range of chicks because a lot of the chicks that come onto my farms are poor quality chicks from certain people, certain producers, certain hatcheries. So what actually happens is that it starts in the egg. This is an egg from the hatchery. The fungus enters a cracked egg in the hatchery, and this is part of the hatching process where you find contamination of the aspergillus spores. Now that's an egg there, and on the inside of the egg it is filled with growth from fungus, and they produce millions and millions of spores, which the egg ruptures, the egg bursts, it breaks open, and it infects the chicks in the hatchery. And this is the origin, and then it enters, the chick inhales it in the trachea, the air pipe, and in the air sacs and in the lungs of the chicken. It becomes infected, and they cannot breathe. And then you can see the infection in the air sac. There's your air sac. There's your stomach. That's the head of the chicken is that side. It came through into the lungs, and that it forms a little yellow button that impedes the inhalation and the respiratory process of the chicken. Now this could be 1 or 2 or 3 chickens, or it could be 100 and more chickens dying of this. This is a bunch of chickens that really had a bad infection. But you will start seeing this from 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And if they start dying, you know, they don't seem to stop. Once again, you know, you can see the little buttons, round buttons there in the air sacs of the chicken. If you look at the trachea, you can see the tracheas, and you can see the occlusion of your trachea as a result of the infection. So if the trachea is blocked, it cannot inhale, it cannot respirate, it cannot take in oxygen, so it will die, it suffocates. And then one of the things, you know, it's difficult to get a picture of this, but when chickens get old, they tend to huddle together. And when they start huddling, they, you know, the stronger ones will suppress the poorer, smaller chickens, and they will suffocate. They will literally suffocate, and then they die. And it looks like a heart attack, but it's you find it in corners, you find it where they huddle together, but that's when your houses are cold, especially at night, and in the morning you open up, you find there's a whole group of chicks dead in a in one spot. And that will, those lesions is similar to what you would find with a heart attack. But these birds are 4 days old, up to 8 days, you can get suffocation. Okay, if we take from 8 to 30 days, I've combined my spectrum of mortalities. E. coli, septicemia, bacterial infections. That'll be your heart. There's the chicken, the head is there, the feet are here. That's your heart. This is the liver, and this is where the air pipe comes in, that goes to the lungs lie there. They are there next to the heart. But you can see there's a yellow discoloration on the heart. Now this infection is a bacterial infection. We call it E. coli. E. coli septicemia. Now that normally, this type of infection is transmitted through the egg, and it comes from the breeder flock. So the breeder flock, to a lesser extent the hatchery, and this is the sort of infection that you find in, they die like flies when they've got this infection. And this is early age. This is from 8 days, 12 days, up to 28 days, 30 days. If you open up the bird, you see this yellow plaques. It looks like it's a yellow cheesy substance that you will see there. Now this is fatal. Chickens die like flies when they have this sort of infection. Your mortalities can be low if the infection is slight, but if it's severe, it could go up hundreds a day. And there again, you can also see the same thing. There's the heart. You can see it's covered in yellow pus. That's your liver. That's your intestines. It's in between the intestines. It's on the liver, on the surface of the liver. Your heart again, infection, yellow cheesy substance on the liver. Okay, so I think that's not a difficult one. To treat that, you need antibiotics. There are antibiotics available on in the co-ops. There are 2 or 3 different types of antibiotics which you can purchase from the co-op. Otherwise, you need to have a script to get the antibiotics to treat those birds, because it is treatable. But if you start treating these birds, it restricts your initial growth pattern of the bird, so that they don't grow as healthy and so vigorously as what they would have grown without the infection. Okay, now we come to ascites. It's got a couple of names. We call ascites congestive heart failure or water belly. When do you see ascites? Okay, different ages of the birds. It can occur 3 to 10 days. That's normally from your hatchery. It can start developing in the hatchery. Also ventilation, not enough oxygen, and you see ascites 3 to 10 days. 10 to 20 days, the aspergillus infection, I showed you the slides previously. If they develop aspergillus infection, those birds that don't die from the infection as such, that causes it damages the lung function, and you start getting aspergillus or ascites from the aspergillus infection. And then the real culprit starts to develop at 20 to 35 days. This is where your poor ventilation comes in. This is because it takes 10 days for ascites to develop. 10 days. So it's a gradual thing. You don't have enough oxygen, not enough oxygen, and it starts developing in the heart. The body needs oxygen, and what does it do? The heart pumps faster and faster and faster to provide oxygen, and it doesn't happen, so it just keeps on pumping faster until it just backs up. And this is what you see in the bird that's just died. You can see the belly is, it looks like a inflated area, like an inflated ball. If you open up the bird, that's the heart, the head is on this side, the legs are there. This is the abdomen, that's the liver. This is the heart. You can see a jelly-like substance accumulating in the abdomen. That's also part of the pathogenesis of ascites. Now, if you look at if you open up further, you can see the liver lying there, the heart is there, the lungs are there, the intestines are here. You can start seeing that the heart is enlarging because your right-hand side of the heart enlarges. It takes 10 days to enlarge, it takes 10 days for this condition to develop, and then if it gets to a stage where the bird cannot handle it anymore, and then it dies. And I'm telling you, I've seen this in epidemic proportions. Hundreds of birds can die as a result of this. And it's funny enough, I see it in closed houses, but I haven't necessarily seen it in open houses, open curtain houses. So this disease is more important in closed houses. Okay, if you look at the heart, this is the heart and the livers. That's the heart sac is lying there. But there you can see this heart. It's got the shape of a strawberry. You cannot miss it. If you see the heart that looks like a strawberry, then you know it's ascites, and then you know there was a lack of oxygen, and it took 10 days for this condition to develop, and this bird will die. Okay, just to show you a normal heart, this is what a normal heart in a chicken looks like, and this is the sick one, the diseased one. To me, you know, to make a comparison, if you use this as a, to compare it to something, this looks like a lychee pip. It's got the same shape as a lychee pip, and this one's got the shape of a strawberry. Okay, heart attacks. This will be a heart attack heart, the heart will look like a lychee pip. And again, this heart is more of a ascites type of situation. But the comparison is, you must remember, this bird that died of a heart attack within 10 seconds, because it's got a lot to do with the pH of the blood. The pH of the blood goes up, and it changes to such an extent that the bird cannot handle those changes that take place in the pH of the blood. So, if you open up the bird, you'll find a perfectly normal bird. A perfectly normal bird. There's no reasons, because you must remember that it took this bird 10 seconds to die, and he was eating and he was drinking. He's big and fat, and he's producing a lot of energy, and he's inhaling a lot of oxygen. But because the blood pH changes, it drops, it becomes more acidic. The bird needs to get rid of it. He needs to compensate for that. So when this bird dies, it's in perfect condition. This bird is an absolutely perfect bird. It's a beautiful bird that you could have sold. And then you normally find it lying on its back with its legs stretched out. Big bird, big beautiful bird. No signs of any disease, no signs of any other pathology, except for the fact that it dies in 10 seconds. Okay, there's another disease which I've recently been exposed to. It's a liver infection called hepatitis. The scientific name would be inclusion body hepatitis. It's a viral disease. It's a new type of disease that I've been noticing coming in. If you open up the birds, it starts at 6 days, but the birds are lying around, they're sick, they don't want to eat, they don't want to walk, they really look sick. And the older birds, if you open them up, you see the spotted liver, but you see the liver color changes to yellow, and you have these little red spots all over the place, all over the liver. The liver also enlarges. If you look at this bird, there's the legs, there's the heart, the head is there, the wings are there. This liver is normally this size, so the liver size increases. And you can see this liver is not looking very healthy. It's got a yellow appearance, and it's got little spots on it, little red spots, blood spots. The same with this. But these birds, when they start dying, they die quite a lot. This to me is a comparison to a normal liver. The normal liver is red, and it's healthy, and it looks healthy. You can, it must look like you must take it and cook and eat it. That one is not nice to cook and eat. It doesn't look healthy. The one on the other side. So so there you can see the difference between the sick liver and the healthy liver. The same here, sick liver, healthy liver. If it looks like that, don't eat it. Your birds are dying, and they probably will keep on dying because there is not a vaccine available, because this is a unique disease. There is always an issue, and we cannot control it. We can control it in the parents. There's a vaccine for the injection of the birds at the parents. And then with this disease, you also get gizzard erosions. This is the gizzard. You see erosions there. One of the things that I've commonly noticed the last couple of months is that feed imbalances, calcium, phosphorus, the calcium, the mineral imbalance in the feed is not right. So what you see is birds that can't walk, they sit like this, and they don't look too happy. This is the leg of the bird. You cannot break it. It's big. It bends like a green stick. You can't. If there was a name for it, you could call it green stick disease, but it's not such a disease. But if you look at the leg, that leg was not broken. It was bent. It's soft like rubber. That's not a good way of looking at it. Now, there are normal ways of evaluating the presence of this disease. So now I would open up the birds, I would open up the legs, and then you would look at the growth plates. These growth plates are normal, and if you look at these growth plates, you will see that they are abnormal, and this is feed related. Another feed-related disease which I've noticed the last couple of months is that it's a condition we refer to as dysbacteriosis, or poor gut health. And, it means that the gut, the bacterial composition of the gut is flawed. It's abnormal, it's pathological. Okay, soya. There's a suspicion, a strong suspicion soya plays a role. There is the presence of anti-nutritional factors in the soya. The fibers in the soya contains certain undigestible polysaccharides or sugars. And then sometimes your environment will also be conducive to play a role there. But I think the main issue to me is the feed. If you look at the intestinal composition of the bird, that's the beak. You've got your crop, then you have your glandular stomach, which is called the proventriculus. Then you have your muscular stomach, which is called the gizzard. And then you have your small intestines that go up and down and up. And then when it goes out to the cloaca, and then you have these two blind sacs at the back. It's like your appendix, like we have appendix. It's a little blind sac, but the chickens, they've got two of them. And these blind sacs. Now, these are the bacteria that are present in these blind sacs. And there's a balance between these bacteria. Now, when with the ingestion of abnormal ingredients in the feed, you get your cecum, which is not functioning properly. This is just as a matter of interest. You know, this is what bacteria look like. It's very small. It's 1,000 times magnified. You know, you get bacteria, and if you look at them under a scanning microscope, they look like this. And this is an electron microscopic picture of your gut, what it should look like. This is your villi, and these little green things, that's bacteria sitting there, normal bacteria, good bacteria, that's protecting the lining, the intestinal lining of your gut. These protect, because bad bacteria do the same. They also come and sit here, but they produce substances which has a negative effect on your intestine. Now, if you look at the do postmortems, you know, and I start seeing this is the cecum, those blind sacs, and this is what they look like. You know, you can see they don't look normal to me, and I can show you that they are not normal. They are filled with a liquid. You know, if you open them up, it's like dirty coffee water that just spills out of it. And you can see it's filled with bubbles, and it doesn't have a nice texture. Now, the result of these changes in the gut, you will find that your feces are liquid, filled with bubbles, there you can see. And at the end results, you know, after 2 or 3 days, your litter starts looking like a mud flat, you know, like a mud isolate, or, you know, it's just a muddy mess. If you walk in your chicken house, it's squishy and squashy, you know, it's not nice to walk. And this you will find in open houses and in closed houses. And this is also a huge issue. You know, you can see if you look at some of the fecal droppings, you know, it just disappears. It's like a splash of water that's being excreted all the time. One of the things that we've noticed, there's feed passage. Feed is being excreted in the feces. Now, if you see that, then you know your chickens will not grow, because half the stuff you give, they excrete it. So, you know, there's a lot of money lying there. They're not utilizing the ingredients of your feed. So this is part of the syndrome. Just, you see the foamy substance, you see the sort of a pinkish, reddish secretion that also comes out, and then you see the feed, and then you see the litter becoming moist and wet. Okay, this is just sort of a repeat. But the important thing is to look at is that when you see this, and this is a, and you know, I'm repeating myself, but this is a feed-related issue, which one can address. And there are medication that one can give to prevent this sort of thing. You know, I think, and I can just, because I've used it, and the products that Super Agric Science have, you know, will certainly solve this issue. But the quality of your chicken will not, you will not be able to retain or achieve your initial production figures in terms of weight, but you will at least stop the problem, because, you know, if you start slaughtering chickens at 1.5, 1.6 kgs at 34, 35 days, then you have a problem. And this is the ultimate result you get from the sort of symptoms that I've showed you now. Okay, mycoplasma is one of the things that I've started seeing coming through. But once again, I think the quality of your breeding birds to a great extent determines the incidence of the presence of mycoplasma. It's an infection. It's like a bacterial infection, but it's quite severe. Only this week I had one guy that his mortalities was about 50 the one day, but he's got about 30,000 birds in the house. His mortalities was about 50 the one day, and the next day it was 800. So it can escalate, and it's quite devastating. It can knock you. It knocks you for a six. This little structure you see here is the air sacs that's affected with this mycoplasma. The air sacs in the lungs. So, it is quite a severe thing. You can treat it with medication, but it's like fire. If you want to play fire brigade, you've got a fire, you go put it out, but the damage has already been done. So, with this condition, the damage is done because you're losing a lot of birds. But now there are preventative ways of doing it, because as I said, the most important way or significant way that you get this infection is from your parent flock. When the parents are infected, it comes through the egg, comes to your chickens. But if you know about it, then I think there are measures that you can implement to control it. Okay, this is just what the air sacs look like after they've been infected. Yeah, and then I think at the end of my talk, you are looking there for issues, but if you notice, if you know what's lying here, you can rather put your attention to what's lying here and solve it. There's always a reason why something happens. And it's not always necessary to go and look for it there. Sometimes it's staring you in the face and you can solve it if you identify the issue. Okay, that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
Aan die eerste week na die tweede week, my hoender skree, my keken skree styf mag. Die toilet nie mooi nie. Weet nie wat kost. Die tweede vraag is, na die derde week, na die vierde week, dan hoender sal gaan dood. As ek oopmaak, ek kry so geel water binne die hoender.
Geel water?
Ja.
Ja, dat is water om te gewezen.
Okay, that was
okay, the first one was, there seems to be constipation in the first week. And the second question was, the second, third week, when he opens the birds, there's a lot of yellow water. And I think, I'll start with the second one. That's the easy one. Is die makkelijk die in die tweede. En die water, van die suurstof, je moet bietjie oopmaak. Daai moet ons varslig kry. Jy moet nie koud kry nie, maar hy moet lekker varslig wees. So jy maak hom bietjie so of bietjie so elke dag. As dit lekker dag is soos vandag, jy kan sommer oopmaak. Maar die ander ding is by die aand, jy moet nie toemaak tot bo nie, jy moet bietjie ooplos. At night, the most important time when this ascites develops is at night, because that's your critical period for your ventilation. That chicken is sleeping for 8 hours in an area which the quality of the SX of the oxygen is bad. So at night you must always leave, in die nag jy moet bietjie oop los so. Jy moet gaan kyk, die honde sal hom nie koud kry nie, maar hy maak net bietjie oop by die nag op. Okay, maar daai eerste een, ek ken hom nie. Wat se kos gebruik jy?
Die sopa. Kan ek die company se naam noem?
Ja.
Ja, ek gebruik also een rooskroon. En ik gebruik de sopa of matnam, hulle noem dit zo. Dat is de kost wat ik gebruik. En ik denk dat is de beste kost.
Jy sien, dis goeie kos daai. Daai mense gee goeie kos. Ek het nie moeilikheid daarmee nie, maar dit is my snaaks, die sê hulle is bietjie hard. Ek ken eintlik, ek sien eintlik nie daai ding van styfmaag nie, nee. Ek sal ek sal bietjie dink, maar ek ken nie daai ding, want hulle maak jy moet slap wees, jy weet. Maar jy moet maar kyk na jou water. Hulle moet altyd goeie water hê. Die water moet lekker wees. Jy moet die water kan proe en kan dink dit is lekker.
As ek daai ding so, my trainers, ek gaat op die zoekende gisteren. Maar op een level kan ik kijken en water vliegen. Dan als het recht is, ik krijg altijd daar is een plaat nat. Maar andere keer als het daar zo komt, hij is droog. Dat is best mee en de personeel mag niks doen. En dan begint het goed gaan.
Ek dink wat jy miskien kan doen is, I think what you can do is to put in some vitamins for that first week or two.
Vitamin?
Ja, jy kry hier agterlaas vir as 'n meisie gaan vir 'n paar potjies gee om saam te vat. Jy vat jy bietjie saam. Kornay jy moet net 'n paar dae so hou, jy het mos klomp wat. Ja, vat bietjie van daai vitamins en dan gooi jy dit saam met die water en dan kyk jy wat gebeur. Okay.
Ek het toevallig geobserveer by ons ook met hy wat nou sê die mis is dit lyk of die hoenders verstop. As die hitte in die hok op 'n sekere tyd van die dag te hoog is, dan gebeur dit gewoonlik. Wat ons neergeskryf het maar op in 'n dagboek en so. Veral in die somer dan sukkel hy met daai probleem.
Kan ek net vir jou vra daai meneer hy sê nou hy sien dieselfde ding, maar hy sê hy sien dit by die middel van die dag as dit baie warm is.
Ja.
Wanneer sien jy dit?
Ik heb niet de tijd gaan tekenen, maar wat ik zie is dat, want als ik ga fietsen of fietsen, ik kijk altijd als op daar is een plek. Dan als het recht gaat, het blijft kleiner. Maar als het niet recht gaat, het blijft wordt droog. Het is droog, het wijst niet, die mag werken niet. Ik moet altijd daar geel kan het niet doen, heel goed evacueren. Ik ga bedienen. Ik weet het niet. Het wees mij, hij gaat niet bij de toilet. Zo dat is wat ik altijd deed. In de toilet toe gaan nemen. Die batteriestation. Ik weet het niet. Dan als er een patiënt zo maakt, dan begint het niet.
Je ziet, ja, want hij raakt dan verstopt.
Ja.
Je ziet, ik denk wat je dan moet doen is, je moet maar maak dat hulle water vol is en dan sit daai vitamine by. Want jy sien die hoender hy soos ons hulle het nie soet goed nie.
Ja, okay.
En dan vitamine is bietjie soet. Wat jy ook miskien kan doen is om net help 'n bietjie water te drink, gooi 'n bietjie suiker by die water.
Ik ga drinken zeker.
Is dit?
Ja, voor 2 jaar.
Ja, dis baie goed. Ja, drinksuiker is goed. Maar dis my snaaks, maar ek sê jy moet maar net altyd kyk dat in die middel van die dag dat hulle genoeg water het.
Ja.
Is toch de ruimte dat is die 5 liters of 4 liters, 10 liters dat je drinkt. Die waterzak, drink hulle.
Ja, ik drink water, maar daar tijd dan wees me en ik drink niet zo baie zoals ze moet drinken. En dat is daarvoor wat ik zeg, die mag lopen. En is niet erg mee.
Je ziet maar dit.
Ik denk dat ik drink niet water dit tijd. Want dat is water, hij is niet water wordt. Die centraal moet naar de wees. Zo het wees me, gaan niet als het niet water.
Je moet misschien net kijken hoe drinken hulle nie water nie. En as jy dan moet er rede wees, dat is ander rede. Jy moet net mooi gaan kyk. En as jy dan die vitamins daar gooi, dan miskien dit gaan bietjie help.
Ja, ik denk zo.
Ja, in ieder geval daarmee
to ask, there's a disease where the intestines come from the back of the chicken. What can cause that?
That would be a prolapse. Okay, the question is, there seems to be a prolapse. The intestines are coming out through the anus. The only disease that can cause that is coccidiosis, which I can think of, which will be responsible for your for the intestines to protrude. But when that starts, then they start packing, and then it goes into a vicious cycle, and that animal will ultimately die. So, is the feces of those birds, is it hemorrhagic? Is there blood in the feces, or do you?
No, the blood is only there at the intestines that to show that it's head, like it's open.
Yeah, because I think that the only reason for that could be there could be coccidiosis, and the birds keep on.
But then when you put matches or fire, then it goes back.
How old is it?
You push it back. No, there's no specific disease apart from coccidiosis that I think that will be responsible for that,
Sorry, Doc. Is it advisable to use cocoa leaves?
To
use cocoa leaves.
Popo.
Cocoa.
Yeah. Papaya. Papaya leaves.
You mean do you dry them and mix them up and put them in?
Make it tea.
Well, I can't specifically say cocoa leaves, but I think this means that it must have some other herbal significance. That you have a benefit of giving them some of these herbal products that's on the market sometimes. But if you let me put it to you that way, I don't have any experience with cocoa leaves, but if it works for you, use it. If the birds don't die and they keep on growing, if it works, then keep on.
Thank you, Doctor. I have two questions. Before I pose my questions, I think it's important that I should mention that I'm still new in this poultry production business. Actually, I just started last year. Yeah, I started with only 100 chicks, obviously targeting the festive holidays. And with my first batch of 100, I lost 8. And then I put in my second batch of 150 chickens in January. January and February, I lost 6. Right now, I have a batch of 100, which is my 4th batch. The chicks are now 18 days old, and I just lost 1 yesterday out of my 4th batch of 100 chicks. Now, in the 4 batches that the past 3 batches I had cases of chickens that were becoming paralyzed. And it pains me so much, to see my chicks, just in a condition of I'm able to do that. It hurts me so much. So I need to ask, what is it that I can give my chickens to protect them from becoming paralyzed? That's the first question.
When they were paralyzed, could they still eat?
Yeah, I do move them out of the flock and put them aside and make sure that I put the
Or
water.
do they keep on living, or do
They keep on eating, but their growth is, it's stunted.
Yeah.
They don't go into things that I really expect.
Well, I think, to me, there's 2 reasons for that. One is infection. You get female necrosis, which is the female that goes into your femur becomes necrotic, it becomes infected, and they can't walk. Of course, the one leg is very sore. And the other one is calcium phosphorus, as I showed you on that, the birds don't walk. But then you get all the birds, because your feet will be affected. then you won't, because of, by interrupting myself, I think your figures are very good for mortalities. The first one was 8%, the second one was 4%, and now you're standing at 1% at 18 days. That's excellent. That's very good. So I think you are looking after your chickens quite well, and I think that those birds that are paralyzed, it's not your fault. It's something to do with the chicken, and it's if it's infection, it's not your fault. It comes through the chicken, and if it develops that female head necrosis, it means that the chicken cannot walk. It's very painful, and then I think if you use antibiotics you get from the cow, or there's some of this product there you can put in the first 7 days, and it will remove all. It's a preventative type of medication for infections. That'll remove all the infection if you put it in the first 5 days in the drinking water. That sort of thing you can do to prevent that. But the other thing is I don't know if you have co-ops there in your area, but they should have little antibiotics and sachets. There are 2 or 3 types of antibiotics you can use for that reason. Okay.
Then my second question is can I give my chicks digester pie without the recommendation of the vet?
Digester pie, yeah, you can. Yeah, because it's also something that will help you. Okay. No.
I've seen a smaller number, I would say about 2% of birds that doesn't grow feathers. Is it a genetic problem or is it a farmer's problem?
No feathers?
No. Yes. They would have a few feathers on the end of the wing, but on the body itself, no.
Now where's Tristan? Tristan, that's your problem.
What's the temperature that you run in the beginning?
No, look, I've got no mortalities when they are small. I only have that problem.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
The temperature
Yes,
is
but
35. I start with 35.
okay, that's usually in normal circumstances that's a bit too high for the chick. So what happens ultimately is if your temperatures is too high during the brooding period, usually first 7 days going forward.
Look, Alfa sent out a pamphlet when you buy chickens from them, and
Yes.
they describe the perfect temperature, and I do adhere to that.
32.
Okay, that
Should be 32.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was also.
If it's too high, basically, if it's too high, they will not.
But why only 2%?
It depends.
Of net 1. Uit die hele lot uit is daar net 1 wat niks vere het nie.
Yeah, well, that's maybe 1 or 2, but that's fine. But if your majority of the flock or the cycle of the chicks that you have is featherless at least day 18, 17, 19, it means your temperatures in the beginning was way too high.
Aanslag maak.
Dit kan in 'n mate geneties wees. Dis baie mense wat baie kinders. My kinders het maar dit is nie 'n masjien wat dit maak nie. Dit is 'n biologiese produk. Maar as dit die hele lot is, is dit temperatuur. Voer en temperatuur.
I just wanted to ask about the calcium percent is imbalanced on the chick. Which medicine can we use? I'm not clear about that. If this chicken has got a problem with the calcium percent is imbalanced.
There are products available. I think it all depends if you get, because you have calcium, you have 2 types of deficiency. You have calcium and then you have phosphorus deficiency. And but there's one product that will sort of treat both, and then the other product will only treat the calcium. So you'll have to use either one, or we can perhaps use both together. But there are products, but Corneille from Super Agri will advise you on serious. He can give you some information on that. Sorry, I don't. Someone here? Right.
I just needed to know the price range of
Where do you live? You see, that's going to be difficult. Normally, you know, like myself, you know, I do these big companies, you know, I do farm visits, but then, you know, if I do quite important, I do certain mortality research, you know, so it's, these guys have got 500,000 birds, you know, so look at, so it's not always easy. Perhaps the first thing you can do is if there's a bed close to you, go to him and ask him to help you. If he can't help you, you must try and follow up with the people at the university to see if you know, they can't arrange something but I think, you know, the best advice I can give you for the time being is that, you know, go to your university and ask him to have a look. Oh, how much it costs? Well, you know, it can be up to 10,000 rand a day. And the minimum will be about 3,000 or 4,000. Okay.
Also, the sense over there about paralyzed chickens. So, you said we can buy some product here and give to the beds on the early days. So, when do we get them? Together with stress free or? Okay. Thank you. I'd like to know what kind of a disease is this and how can I prevent this? I noticed it this week.
This is a wound. I think this is injury caused by a wound, and then I keep on pecking it. Because chickens, they like to peck. If there's one bird with a wound and they see the blood, they go and they're pecking to death. There was only the one bird. Number 5. So there was something that caused an injury there, I think. So, but there's no specific disease that causes that. This is probably an injury, and they start picking each other. So all you can do there is you can go to your pharmacy and perhaps you can give you an ointment. Put on the, you know, to make it so yeah, this is all I can say, because I can tell you, yeah, there's no specific disease, so you don't have to worry about that disease. But I think there's something that causes, it could be a cat, it could be rats or anything, you know, that come in and they try and catch chickens, and then they start picking, and they don't stop there, just keep on picking. Okay. You mustn't disappear, you must come to me afterwards and I will give you your price, which was give it to someone else. Okay. Thanks.
I say very thank you, Mr. Dr. Mike Berendahl. It was very informative. For who was it informative enough?
Was the day informative enough?
So far, okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. They would be asked
goede wat ons gebruikt, zoals de heaters. Als je de heaters misschien krijgt, hij werkt niet meer mooi niet, maar die paarden, waar koop ik die paarden om die heater recht te maken. Want daar is gewoon een heater moet die zijn. En daar is het als een honor. Hij wordt klaar. En die heater hij werkt niet meer, maar no. Die andere, zoals daar in Royals, je krijgt die club bij de andere plek. Maar daar in Ronnie en medicijn, je kan niet meer kijken van de rond krijgen. Maar voor ons is het
goed. Is it electric?
Ja.
Okay. Hy het dalk 'n baie belangrike punt. Your heating, the best is to have thermostats in. Thermostat control the temperature like we said. I don't know which type you've got. Okay. Then you can get it here.
Yeah, usually sometimes there's just a wire in the inside. Most of the times it's a wire inside that just goes off or bursts. So you could just open it up and connect the wire again, and then it usually works again.
Okay. Very important for everybody that you have to have thermal parameters, minimum, maximum parameters. So you can see how high was the temperature during the day and how low it was during the night. Because in the daytime it seems right, in the night it goes down, you can't see, you sleep, but on that you can see you must get more temperature. So minimum, maximum parameters, very important. Check it, reset it every morning. Write it down. What was your temperatures?
So some. Maar de vraag is, als de heater steken is,
Vra vir die mense wat is dit en of hulle part het. Anders electrical shops of part dan. Kan nie? Okay. Hoor by hulle. Okay, enige ander? Any questions more? Yes? Fine, and you? Yeah.
The heads, they get swollen, especially mostly in winter time. The heads of the ships.
Yeah, there's a different, quite a few. Yeah, there's quite a few, but I think that is for the doctor. That will, it's all looks the same. It can be bronchitis, sometimes Newcastle, but mostly it's bronchitis. So I don't know if the doctor is here.
I think what you are dealing with is an infection which they get from, I won't say it's a winter disease, but it's a bacterial infection. It's like a flu they get. But if you get that, you go to the co-op and you get antibiotics. They've got tetracyclines, they've got Fosbac, it's got some other name, but they've got antibiotics which they can use and which will be effective and help you, because those birds, they feel sick, they can't eat, and eventually they do die.
Okay, but you can get it in the antibiotics at Alfa Chicks as well. Okay. I think we're gonna have like a 15-minute smoke break. You can go to the toilet. Afterwards, there's Teresa that's gonna have a presentation, and then you carry on. Baie dankie julle. As daar enige vrae is, vra maar. Ek weet die mense is rond.
Hi everyone, I would just like to say thank you to Alfa
Thank you to Ross, thank you to Dr. Mike. I think our big thing is we want you to prosper. We want you to do well with growing the chickens, growing your farm, and I think that's why all of us are here. And that's why you are here as well, to get information on prospering, getting those chickens to grow, you growing, your farm, all of us are growing together. So the big thing I'm talking about today is biosecurity. If we look at risks, we must look at my farm and see what the risks of a disease coming into your farm can be. Do you guys know what biosecurity means? Aha. Okay, yes, that's part of biosecurity, is your vaccines. I don't have nice gifts. I've got pens. Yes?
Yeah, what I think about biosecurity is probably making sure that the biological assets that we have on the farm are properly secured from diseases and any other interference in terms of their growth.
Wonderful. Someone else? Yes?
Just protect from any disease.
I say, protect from any disease. Wonderful. Will you give it to him? Thank you. Okay, so biosecurity, bio means life, and security, we know. We've got security system on our farm. We're trying to keep people out of stealing our chickens. We're trying to keep our cars safe. Security. So we are protecting life. Okay? The life of the chicken at this stage. But it can be the life of your cattle, the life of your sheep, even life of people. It's not a small picture, it's a big picture. If we look at all the ways that disease can enter our farm, who do you think is the easiest to bring in diseases? Ourselves. Wonderful. Okay. Will you give to her? Thank you. So if I look at my shoes, how does it look? It's got grooves. It's got things. I can bring in dirt with my shoes. Okay? How can I also bring in? I can bring in disease with my nose. I can carry stuff in my nose. I can carry stuff in my clothes. Okay? So us as people is the biggest one that can bring diseases. Where does that coal buyer go? Does he go into your house? The guy that comes and buys chickens from you, he doesn't go. Wonderful. He must not go into your house because he was looking at your neighbor's chickens just now, ne? And he said, no, they're too small. I'm coming to your farm. Okay, he's carrying all that disease on him. Right. So, things that can bring diseases, rodents. Okay, so that's why it's important to cut the grass short between our houses to make sure that we can see the rodents that are coming. If you see rodents, put out poison. They can bring diseases to your chickens. Okay, big one is salmonella. And that salmonella can make people sick. So as soon as people are getting sick, they're going to say, where did these chickens come from? Okay, so we can get in big trouble with that. The feed truck can bring diseases. That's why we want to disinfect it. I must say, all the big companies, They disinfect their vehicles when they come onto the premises. They disinfect them when they go off as well. Okay? Then, from bird to bird, one bird can make another bird sick. Okay? We've seen that. It's like babies or children. We put them in school, they are very healthy. Okay? One of them are sick. In a week's time, all of them are sick. Okay? So we're putting a lot of chickens together, and they can spread diseases between each other. Okay. The virus might be coming through the air. It might be blown onto your farm. Okay. Contaminated feces, and that's why cleaning is so important. If you had a problem in this cycle and you don't clean well, you can have that exact same problem next cycle again. So we want to clean that out and make sure that it's not there anymore. Okay, so I put humans at the bottom, but we are actually...
Disinfect.
Who's talking with me?
Dis ek.
Sure, skrik ek nou, ek dog. But I wanted to ask, do you also hear that? 'Cause okay, dogs and pets, okay? A lot of farms, the dog comes with, alright? The dog doesn't eat the chicken, so he doesn't bother us, okay? But does the dog walk through the footpath? No, the dog doesn't walk through the footpath. Okay, so the dog can bring diseases from cycle to cycle. He goes, he eats the mortalities. Yes, we don't have mortalities anymore. But now he goes into the other house that is still healthy. Okay, so everything we have and bring into that house, we must evaluate if it can bring a disease. Okay, equipment. The rake, the spade, everything. So now I quickly have to fix something in this house, and I'm taking it to that house next. I must disinfect in between. Okay. Between cycles, I must disinfect my equipment because I can carry over a disease. Okay, cattle. I've been in small houses, large houses. Okay? Cattle get into houses. Sheep get into houses. They are very naughty. Okay? What do? They scare the chickens. Okay? They run into the corner. 50 die in the corner. Okay? They eat your food, your chicken food. Now you say, oh, but I've used so much food. But it's that scallum little sheep that's coming in and it's eating some of your food whilst you're not looking. The cattle as well, they love chicken food, but they can bring diseases to your chicken as well. So it's not only eating your food, scaring the chickens, they can actually bring diseases. Okay. It can be in the respiratory system of the birds and then contaminated fluids. Okay. So what I do normally, I go and see the farms. Then there's somebody walking, he's picking up all the mortalities. Picking up the mortalities. Then he sees, oh, something is wrong here. I must quickly fix this. What is on his hands? The dead chicken liquid. Okay? Now he's working with a feeder. He's working with a drinker. A chicken is coming, drinking there, eating there. We are spreading the diseases. Okay? So if they're picking up mortalities, pick up all the mortalities. If you see something, mark it. Say, okay, by this pole, I must come and look at this feeder, or I must look at that drinker. Go out, take the mortalities away, disinfect hands, go back in and fix the problem. Okay, you'll see that our products have got, the soaps are yellow, the product inside is yellow, and the lid is yellow. The product, the disinfectants are blue, and the lid is blue. So that's just for easier use on the farm. If you see that you don't see the blue in the foot bath, you know there's no disinfectant in the foot bath. Right. We also supply the ViraKill, which is a very good product for disinfection, foot baths. But you can put it in the drinking water, you can spray it on the birds. Very safe product. Okay. So very important thing. If somebody comes onto your farm, their hands must be disinfected. Okay. You remember in COVID time, the president then told us all the time, we were tired of it. Eh? Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Okay? But he was talking the truth. Because we touch everything. And then we touch something of the chickens. We touch the chicken food. We can bring diseases with our hands. Okay? Also important, disinfect that truck, or that driver doesn't get off on your farm. Because what does he do? He drinks coffee on this farm, on that farm, whilst we're downloading, or offloading, downloading, offloading the feed. Okay, he's getting out with his shoes. Okay, he can bring diseases to your farm. Okay, every visitor, everybody must go into your farm through a foot bath. Okay. Even Oma, even Uncle Pete, anybody must go through a foot bath. If they want to get close to your chickens, sorry, nee, foot bath. Okay. Something else I want to mention here is, okay, now I'll mention it later. Okay. Even better is to have foot bath, boots, 2 sets of boots for your workers. Right? You can decide. Have the white ones outside, have the black ones inside. If you see the guy walking around with his wrong boots outside, you know he didn't change his boots. Okay. So it's a way to monitor where the people are going if you have different houses. Okay? Even if you only have one house. He's not supposed to be outside with his black boots. So then you can say, listen, you're not following the rules. Chickens can get sick easily. Follow the rules. Okay. We also have things that where you can have 2 foot baths, right? So you step into water first to rinse off all the dirt from your boots. And then you go into the disinfectant. This is a way to save a little bit of disinfectant. Because if you go into the disinfectant with dirty boots, you've got to change the disinfectant the whole time. Okay? So if we can wash it off first and then go into the disinfectant, it's even better. Like daai reg, is that one right? Is that reg? Ek gaan jou pen vat. Waar is your pen? I'm going to take your pen. Huh? Okay, that one doesn't look right. Okay. It's dirty. We don't want to. We can actually carry with that one. We can carry in more dirt into the house. Okay. How does that look? Very nice and clean. All right. So, yes, the foot bath will get a bit dirty during the day, but if it's too dirty, we must change the foot bath. Okay. Even if they say change it every day, if it's too dirty, change it. It's a few cents, but it can make a difference to your chickens. Okay. It must also not be in the sunlight. Okay, because sunlight breaks down some products. Okay. So if it is standing outside, it must be moved around into the shade the whole time. Okay, vehicles coming onto your farm. Doesn't matter if you've got a knapsack sprayer, doesn't matter if you have a spray booth, those vehicles need to be disinfected. Because you don't know where they visited before, where they bought chickens before, and now they're coming onto your farm. Okay, so we disinfect the vehicles. Very nice way to do a spray race, but the thing is, even if it's a knapsack sprayer, it will have a nozzle like this. Okay, make sure that nozzle is working properly. It's not just spraying one, because then it's going to take you half a day to disinfect the vehicle. If it's spraying nicely, it will be faster. Oops. Okay, shower in. Okay, especially our workers that work inside with the chickens. I know it's a big expense to put up showers, but where do they stay? They stay somewhere where there's chickens maybe. Their neighbor has got chickens. Okay, they can bring diseases from the house to your farm. Okay, and then the shower facilities must look nice. It must be clean. Doesn't help the guy comes in clean, but he's more dirty when he goes out. So that must be cleaned. Okay, hands. Our president's talk. Disinfect your hands, okay? Even when you're getting out of the shower, disinfect. When you're going into the chicken house, disinfect. When you're touching the chickens, disinfect. When you are touching the dustbins, mortalities, disinfect. Okay. The vehicles restrict access to your chicken houses. Okay. Not everybody can just drive in with their vehicle. If the vehicle needs to come in, disinfect that vehicle. Okay. People, problem. Okay. Footbaths, disinfect, shower. That's the ultimate. Alright? But if we can start fixing some things, I'm not saying get a builder, build showers, do this, do that, because then you're going to say, no, I'm not going to do this. You do the best what you can with your situation. Right? Disinfect your equipment. Okay? Very important to disinfect. Right? Make sure that every person's boots is dipped before entering the farm, before entering the houses. So there's not only one foot bath on the farm. There's one where they come in, there's one in front of every house. Right? Okay, there's also a nice picture of a clean foot bath. Okay, and then I've got a lot of foot bath stories. Okay. So we put these foot baths out. We tell the people, please use the foot baths. Okay? Get onto this. This is a large farm. Everything is in place. The house is clean. It is beautiful. Okay? They've got the 2 foot bath system. Then they had to carry in the sawdust. Okay? Now these foot baths are in the way. So now we're taking the foot baths away and we're walking on the floor. Okay? So immediately broken biosecurity. They've broken down everything that they have put in place. Because now these people are just walking in. Those bags are heavy and I don't want to walk into this foot bath. Okay? It's wrong. It's very wrong. Some people have got holes in their gumboots because instead of just working on your farm, they walk to town with the gumboots. Nee? Now it's broken. They don't want to walk into the foot bath because now their feet is going to be cold the whole time. Okay? It's wet and cold. Now is winter time. They don't want to go into the football. So please just check that the gumboots are still alright. And that's why it's better to keep it on farm and not having it go to town. Although boots wants to go to town. Okay. So most of us are exhausted. These chickens exhaust us. Okay, so I found this one. I'm not an early bird, I'm not a night owl. I'm some form of permanently exhausted chicken. Okay, chicken farming is not for sissies. You guys are not sissies. Okay, you are strong. Because if you look at a chicken wrong, it falls over. Okay, you are strong. Even though they might exhaust you sometime, well done. Everything needs to be disinfected. The crates, your spade. We're getting back to equipment again because it's very important. We think we're quickly running from one house to another with a spade. The coccidia that Dr. Mike showed us, you can transfer it. The Newcastle, the ivy, the mycoplasma, you can transfer it with anything that you take into your chicken house. Okay, if we look at cleaning the chicken houses, first thing you do is you remove all the manure, okay? And if I say all the manure, it must be out of the house, okay? That is what we call a dry clean. Sweeping of the house, getting every corner, every little bit of manure, getting it out of the house, all right? Then we start with a wet clean. So we are rinsing everything with water to get the dust, even the roof. The chicken is not touching the roof, but the wind is blowing dust. It's blowing bacteria to the roof. And as soon as the chickens are in there, that bacteria can come down. So we are spraying everything. Spraying walls, spraying floors, roofs, feeders, everything. We clean everything with a detergent, a soap. Alright? So a lot of people are saying, okay, I'm washing with sunlight liquid, I'm washing with this. There is products that are registered for chicken houses, that are registered for that are food safe, right? You're going to use a lot of sunlight liquid, whereas maybe you're going to use 5 liters of a very strong product that was made for chicken houses, right? So we first put on a soap, okay? We leave it there for 15-20 minutes, okay? Then we rinse it off with water. While we're rinsing it off, because that soap, have you seen when the children blow bubbles? That bubble, it's making colors, it's turning, okay? So now the soap is turning on the surface. It's taking dirt off that surface, all right? So now the soap is full of dirt. So we have to rinse it off. Okay. If we remove manure, sorry, this picture doesn't show it nicely, but there's manure still outside of these houses. If the wind blows, it can quickly blow into the houses. Okay, so we must remove manure inside and outside of the houses. Okay, so that one is nice and clean. There might be a little bit of manure still left. You can spray it with a product, a phenolic product, like FB Black, or you can just disinfect that area. Okay, things that I saw on farms. You can still see manure lying here. Okay, so that was the dry clean. on my walls, it's better to have, what do you call it? Plastered walls. Okay, because then the bacteria can't go in there, the manure can't go in there. But you see all these holes. The manure goes into those holes. Okay, so when we clean, we must check our walls are clean. Okay, because with the bricks it's very easy for dirt to be trapped in there. In here, the poles and the cement was cracked. Dirt can go in there. Okay, if we look at that little piece of metal, it was still full of manure, but we say we clean the house. Okay, so every little bit must be cleaned. Old food, remove it. Okay? If it's wet like that, the manure outside, remove it. That's part of your dry cleaning. Okay, now we've got wet spots. What happens first? We see a lot of flies, ne? Okay, the flies are flying from one house to another house to another house. They're spreading diseases. Okay. They cleaned here already. They sprayed over it, ne? But they didn't remove this stuff. So underneath this, there can be dirt and diseases trapped. Okay. Found a dead rat. It's a good rat, but it can still have diseases. Okay. Cleaning the sides of the houses, very important, especially if you've got cells. The wind blows and it blows that dirt right back into your house, onto your new baby chickens. Okay, another picture of dirt outside the houses. Where can diseases hide? They can hide in that sail that has been rolled up. Okay, so if we clean our houses, we bring the sails down. We clean the whole entire sail, not just a little bit that we left. Okay. Is that sail opening correctly? No. And I'm sorry to say, I've spoken to a few people now. The sail must open from the top down. Okay? The hot air is going in at the top, it's mixing with the hot air in the house, and then it's going onto your chicken. If it is at the opening from the bottom, the cold air goes onto your chicken directly. It's sitting there, it's making itself warm, it's not eating, and it's not growing. Okay, so if at all, if you can change your sails around, they must open from the top. Hot air is at the top and then mixing in. Okay, old food from the previous cycle still lying in the house. It can't be. You must clean all your feeders, all your drinkers. Okay, here's some more pictures of the walls. I got a whole door knob inside the wall with all the manure. We didn't even see the door knob because of the manure. So every crack in the floor, every crack in the wall, we must clean. We're putting babies in there. Are we going to take our baby and put it on a dirty floor? No, we're carrying it around all the time. We're washing it the whole time. We're cleaning the baby the whole time. We must put our chickens into a clean house. Okay, there's also a rat inside a fan. Okay, very important. If there is no plastic needed in the house, remove it. Because I asked them, why is this plastic there? They couldn't tell me. So if it doesn't need to be there, remove it. Because underneath that plastic, there's dust and dirt and diseases, potential diseases. Okay, this is just also showing where dirt can sit. And then important is to bird-proof your houses. Okay? This new AI that's coming, it is coming with the migratory birds, and we don't want birds in the chicken houses. Okay, so as far as possible, we need to close all entries, all windows, so that birds, wild birds, can't come into our chicken houses. See, everywhere, in a door, underneath a plate, everywhere dirt can hide. And in that dirt can be diseases. Okay, so we clean before we disinfect. If you look at this picture, they sprayed it with a pressure sprayer, but these things turn around, so they miss that part. Okay, if you see something like that, or in the feeder bins, that oily stuff, sometimes we need to use a little bit of elbow grease to get the dirt off. Okay.
Sorry, Teresa. I just want to add, Newcastle disease, all wild birds have got Newcastle disease. So it mustn't come near your chickens. And then you remember the bird flu that was here the other day. It also came from a bird that came from overseas somewhere. So
No wild birds.
yeah, no wild birds.
Yeah, it's very important. They can carry more diseases than AI, because last time it didn't affect the broilers so much, but it affected the breeders, and that's why we didn't have chicks. So just rather have them outside your houses. I don't say go and kill them, because that's also not good. Because that's what they did the first time when Newcastle was a terrible disease. They went out and they killed all the birds. What happens is birds are territorial, so they like their area, and they will keep other birds out. So when they killed the birds on the farms, new birds came in with new diseases that the chickens didn't know about. So just keep them out of the chicken houses. Keep them out of your water plants, your dam. Cover your tanks, and then if you can't cover the dam, treat your water with chlorine tablets or disinfectants. Okay, this is now in a large house, but the foam is very important. Foam causes a product to stay on surfaces longer. So that is why foaming it on, even with those ones that they use to wash the cars at the car wash, that one is also perfect. Foaming everything. The roof, he's foaming the roof, he's foaming the sails, the feeder, everything. If you carry the stuff out, wash it outside, bring it back in, but disinfect everything at one time. Okay, after the detergent, we rinse it off with water. Okay? This is now a nice, brand new controlled house. So the grass is short, nests, there's no bird nests, there's no feces, no feathers lying around, because even feathers can carry disease. If somebody goes out, they must shower out again. It's not your problem so much, so maybe they can leave the showering out. Eh? But before they come into your farm, they must shower. Okay, and then, very important, no peeping toms while people are showering. It's not nice. Okay. The laundry, The overalls must be cleaned properly, all right? And dried properly. Now I see everywhere, all the overalls are washed, pretty, but it's hanging outside. What can happen? A bird can fly over and poop on it, all right? So then the overall is contaminated. So better to keep it underneath a shade or a roof or something so that it doesn't get contaminated. Do you know how long AI can survive in water, manure? No. Okay. On feathers, 15 days at 20 degrees. Okay, 160 days at 4 degrees on a feather. So if I leave one feather on the farm from the previous chickens, or one bird, wild bird, flies over and it loses one of its feathers, it can stay there for, I'd say 15 days, because we are more moderate temperatures than the 4 degrees. In manure, 7 days. Very important to take all the manure away. We don't want the manure on the farm. Take it away. As soon as those chickens are out, take the manure away. At 4 degrees, 35 days. Then we tell the people, don't eat chicken when you work with chickens. Okay, so your lunch. Why? Because in eggs, it can stay there for 21 days. Okay, so now somebody brings an egg to work, or he brings chicken to work. He didn't cook it properly. He can infect your chickens with all sorts of diseases, not only AI. In mortalities, 10 days. So now we don't take the mortalities off our farm. For 10 days, AI can stay in those mortalities. Okay, 3 days on people's clothes. Okay, I wonder why this thing is now making like that. In water at 28 degrees, and I don't know whose water is at 28 degrees, maybe a little bit of cooled bath water, but our water is normally not 28 degrees. It can stay in water for 30 days. Okay? If it goes down to 17 degrees, which I think is maybe more our, maybe dam's water, you can live for 158 days. So very important to cover the water, no wild birds, disinfect the water source that goes to your chickens. The chicken, how many times more does he drink than what he eats? 2 times. Okay, so 2 sips for each little bit of food. So the water quality is very, very important. I found these on farms. Okay, this is after a cycle. So they've given vitamins, they've given all sorts of things. So the color is a little bit brownish. You get that pieces of dirt in the water lines. Okay? It can happen on the way to the chicken house. It can happen inside your chicken house. Right? This is the absolute worst one I got. If you don't want to drink the water, then the chickens also don't want to drink the water. So if they don't drink, or if the water is hot, it's like drinking coffee, then you're not hungry anymore. If the water is dirty, they're not going to drink the water, they're also not going to eat, and they're not going to grow. So it's very important to clean your water lines and clean your drinkers. Okay, so wild birds, we've said wild birds can bring it. Have you seen this, Gogo? That's a litter beetle, right? So it's different stages. So Mostly on farm we see that worm that they call the larva. That thing crawls into cracks, it goes into roofs. You can clean the house as soon as you put your bedding, you start heating the house, they come out of the roof. So now they were living with your old chickens and they're living with your new chickens. They can bring diseases. Okay, so if you see them, treat them. Rats, mouse, they can bring diseases. Ostriches, the first things that got AI was ostriches, long time ago. Okay. So remember, there's a big picture. Our cattle, our livestock, the feed truck that stops everywhere and drinks coffee. No, I'm just joking. The dog, even if it's very small and it can't eat the chicken, it shouldn't go into the chicken houses. Okay, and us as humans, we can carry diseases. Equipment, disinfect the equipment that we are using. Okay, rats, we don't want them there. They're eating the chicken food, they're eating the pipes, they're eating the electrical wires. We don't want them. Unfortunately, they have to go. Okay, and that's it from me. I don't know if you've got any questions. Yes. Yes, that's very difficult. But I think if we all start to tell the buyers they're not allowed into your chicken houses, it will be better. Because they are going from farm to farm and they can carry diseases over. So either tell them, I'll bring you a few of them to the gate in a crate, or have at the front of your farm, far away from your house, have a small house where you can sell from. They call it a cull house. It's better to have it as far as possible away from your chicken houses. Because really, it must just be a standard. Everybody say, you are not allowed in my houses. We've got large farms. We work for Rainbow, we work for Eagles. They just say, you're not getting into my houses. Sorry, that's it. Because now, you don't see that he's bringing a disease onto your farm. In 2-3 days, your chickens are sick. So rather take them to the person or have a place where when your chickens are ready to sell, to put some of them there every day or every now and then. That's my opinion. Does that sound all right? Okay. I saw a hand there at the back. Hierso? Waar? Hierso?
Yeah, we did talk about water.
Yes.
Water from the dam, treated and so forth. What about the water from, I'm using the boat.
Okay, so you are also drinking the water. Sorry?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, if water is safe for you to drink, then it's safe for the chickens to drink. Right. So normally in municipal water, there is chlorine already. So chlorine is safe to drink in town. So I'm sure it's safe to drink on farm as well. You get tablets that you can put into the heater tank that only dissolves as the water comes in. So it can't overdose. Yes. Just very important is to take the chlorine out when you're vaccinating, to not kill the vaccine.
For the second question I had, you did talk again about bed-to-bed contact.
Yes, bird-to-bird contact.
Broilers and both runners. How far should they be apart?
It is, it's very difficult to say how far they should be apart. The road runners are normally stronger chickens and they can survive diseases. But you are bringing in a baby broiler, okay? So those road runners can have a lot of diseases that they're carrying, but they're not showing symptoms. So I would not want them anywhere close to my broilers. Yes, as far as possible removed. Far as possible.
Yeah, they shouldn't actually be on the same
Premises. Not on the same premises, but I know it's difficult. What I've seen is that on some of our layer farms, all the birds died from AI. And those road runners, beautiful chickens, they were still alive. They had to kill thousands of chickens. But those road runners, they're still running after 2 years. So they're very strong, but they can unfortunately carry diseases to your broilers, which are babies and don't have immune system like Dr. Mike said. They don't have that immunity, and they also don't have the time to build up that immunity because they are slaughtered at 40, 50 days. I just want to show you a video, and I think what I said in the beginning, we all want to grow. And this is just a short video of large houses. From my heart, and I think from Alfa's heart, may you all grow into having environmental houses. We saw nobody has, but start small and going big and dreaming big, and you will make it. This is just a video of large houses being washed to show you the process. Thank you.
Welcome to a help video by Diag Poultry on how to properly clean and disinfect a chicken house. The dry clean is very important. Remove all the manure from the farm. After the dry clean, which includes sweeping of the floors and removing large amounts of organic material, the wet wash process starts. Rinse the whole house and equipment with water. Make sure to remove excess water from the floor. Remember to rinse the outside of the house, especially the air inlets and fans. Now apply the detergent to all surfaces and equipment in the house. You can work out a plan to suit your washing team, either applying row by row or dividing the house into blocks to ensure full coverage with the product. The foam helps to prolong contact time. The product has longer time in contact with the surfaces when product foams well. Contact time is the time that the product would need to be in contact with the surfaces to be able to work. Check the contact time for the product you are using. Rinse off the detergent with water and remove excess water from floor after rinsing. It is very important to inspect the cleaning process. It is advisable to hand wash feeders that have organic material, like this one, on them. This one was missed or could have turned around in the cleaning process. Now you can apply the disinfectant to all surfaces and equipment in the house. Here the foam of the product you use can again help with the contact time. Apply disinfectant and leave to dry. Ensure that the house stays closed to not be contaminated. Please feel free to contact any of our experienced sales executives or our head office if you need any assistance on your farm.
Are there any more questions? You're tired now. Shame. I'm glad you asked the difficult questions for the previous people. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for making the effort today to be here. We do appreciate everybody coming out, and I hope it was a good day for all of you as well.
Good day, everyone. My name is William. It was a very good, informative day. The key aspect, my key takeaway from this day was purely biosecurity. As small-scale farmers, that is one area that we're missing it. And there's a lot of takeaways, a lot of issues that we're correcting from this day onwards. Alfa Chicks, thank you so much and have a great one.
No, I enjoyed it. I've learned a lot about how to treat the chickens. Most of the things that I picked up today were things that we're ignorant about. But now today I've learned a lot.
What I have learned is that you have to prevent diseases before they come to the chicken or they come to the chicken feed. So it has, I have learned a lot that before you get a disease, you must learn to avoid the disease to come. So disinfecting the chicken coop, making sure that people who come to buy chickens or to visit the farm, you don't allow them to inside the chicken coop or the chicken farm. To make sure that you disinfect the equipment. Everything that which is you're gonna use at the farm, you must disinfect it. I've learned a lot. And also the type of diseases that can affect the chicken. I've come to know how chicken behave in a way that whether they are sick or they are healthy. So it's very important to be part of this type of workshops, and I'm also happy for Alfa Chicks to organize such a workshop for us starter farmers or people who are starting to enter the industry of broiler or poultry. So I thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to buy more chickens from Alfa Chicks.
Igama lami nguvuma indaba moyo. Ngisengenza i-poultry production ngisempumalanga kwaMhlanga. Ngithanda ukubonga leli thuba engitholela namhlanje ukuze ngizokhulisa ulwazi lwami nge-poultry production. Okokuqala ngithanda ukubonga amadokotela angifundisile ngemikhuhlane, ama-diseases akhona enkukhwini, nama-science, na-treatment engayenza enkukhu zami. Okwesibili ngithanda ukubonga nge-hygiene engifundileyo for a better production, for a successful production, ukuthi kumele ngibe ne-passion ngomsebenzi wami, ikakhulu inkukhu ngazi in and out about inkukhu, ngiyazi i-environment eyenkukhu. Ngiyabonga kakhulu leli thuba. Ngithanda ukubonga uNkulunkulu osinikeze leli thuba lokuthi sihlangane sindawonye. Sithanda ukubonga aba-Alfa Chicks ngokusinika i-opportunity yokuthi sifunde kwenzela sidevelope ama-skills wethu, sidevelope i-production. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Enkosi. Thank you.
I've been in chicken farm. It's been 2 years or
2 years to 3 years now. But today I've learned a lot because most of the things I was not aware of them. But it was very fruitful, this workshop. So thank you very much, Alfa, for conducting this presentation for us. I'm going to do more than what I was doing. So thank you very much.
Ek dink dit was baie leersaam en baie interessant. Baie goeie raad vir kleiner boere dink ek. Daar's heelwat inligting oor die voer, oor die chemikalieë om die huise skoon te maak en die algemene beginsels wat ons eintlik weet maar wat ou vergeet. Het hulle goed weer gegee. So nee, baie dankie. Baie goed.
Hi, my name is Isabel. Thank you so much for this Farmers Day. At least I've learned something which I'm going to apply from tomorrow to my farm. Otherwise, I could have not made it in farming. But thank you so much. I really appreciate what I've learned.
No, thank you very much. The session was very informative. We learned a lot about the diseases that we come across with our chicks and cleaning of the houses and most of the thing was so good and we learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Dit was 'n baie insiggewende dag. Ons het dit vreeslik geniet. Ons het baie geleer. Alfa kykens aanbieding en die organisering en alles was net regtig great geweest. Ons hoop dit gebeur weer en ons sien uit na die volgende keer en nogmaals dankie.
Baie dankie.
This is Desmond from Molife Poultry Farm. We're based in Madinyane, a small upcoming township. The day was good, so informative. I have learned so much, especially on the diseases that affect our poultry businesses. Especially, I didn't know that it is compulsory or it is a must that you give the broilers what is it called? The cambo. We thought that it has to be a recommendation from the vet, but I've learned today that it's a must. It's like giving them the vitamins, but we have to follow the process, obvious. So basically it's that, and I've learned also that even our feet can be the cause of the diseases in our broilers, to be precise.
I've learned a lot. Thank you, Alfa. I've learned a lot, very lot. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Murzon Pasela. I was attending a Farmers Day here at the Alfa Chicks. The day was informative. It was a great number of farmers attended. Thank you for everyone that came. On our side, we are an AgriSeta accredited institute, and we offer animal production and poultry production training, especially by security. Thank you very much. It was nice being here.
Ek van net van daai se kant af sê baie dankie. Ek dink Alfa kykens doen regtig hulle uiterste bes om die boere te ondersteun en ek glo saam gaan ons almal groei. Die boere groei, Alfa kan groei en die verskaffers. Baie dankie.